This episode of Linux Action Show is brought to you by Godaddy.com.
And by Ting.com. Head over to last.ting.com and save $25 off your first device.
And welcome to the Linux Action Show, Season 28, Episode 7. My name is Chris.
My name is Matt.
Hey, Matt. Good morning to you.
Good morning.
Are you ready for me to lay down the big show?
Oh, yeah.
Okay, well, coming up this week, we're going to take two fantastic sync products and bring them head-to-head, SpiderOak and Bittorrent Sync, and see maybe which one's better suited for which, and if there's actually a little happy middle zone where you can use both of them. I've got a major Dropbox habit, man. Major Dropbox habit. Anybody who's been watching our shows for a while knows I am hooked on the Dropbox. But it kind of took a dump on me this week.
Oh, man. And I've had that happen, but never with the amount of data that you're working with.
Oh, my gosh.
Oh, I can only imagine.
So it came down to have to replace it. I had to replace it this week. And I've come up with a system that I'm kind of not just considering a sync solution, but really a new way of doing a network file system where it can be extended to mobile devices, desktop, laptop servers, and even people over the internet. I'm really digging this setup that I got, so we're going to cover that today. Yeah,
good stuff.
And then, of course, in the news segment, there's some mirror drama as well as some interesting kernel stuff and some projects that are up and coming. And then in the feedback segment, we've got some up and coming developers who have sent in their new Linux desktop applications they're working on, and we'll cover those as well as some other emails. But first, it's our picks, Matt.
Yes.
All right, so let's start off with the Runs Linux this week. It's not actually available for order just yet. It should be shipping...
Wish it was.
Yeah, I know. But it should be shipping mid-November. The SolidRun Cube runs Linux. So I guess these are probably about the size of a Boxy Box or so.
I'd say roughly so.
And it's called the Cubox I series, brand new. They've had devices before, but they weren't the I series. And the one that really grabbed my attention, check this out. It's $94.99. Okay, that's not too bad. So it's under $100.
Too bad.
And what you get is a full-fledged ARM-based Linux box. It's got two 1 gigahertz A9 ARM processors. It's got a gigabyte of memory. It's got
it's not too shabby.
A gigabit port. It's got eSATA port on it. It's got SPDIF out. It's got Wi-Fi built in. It's got HDMI out.
And automatically my brain goes, ooh, Media Center.
And it has a built-in infrared port for receiving and sending.
So I wonder how well it renders different resolutions. That's like where my brain goes instantly with a box that size.
It's got hardware accelerated 1080p video playback, so it can do 1080p.
$100.
Yeah, for $100, right? You throw XBMC on this thing or something like that, you've got yourself a wicked machine. Now, if you wanted to cowboy up a little bit, and I'm going to be honest, I pre-ordered one of these. They're on sale right now for 119 bones. Check out what you get for 119. You ready for this bad boy?
I'm ready.
Okay, so it's the same as everything I just mentioned in the last unit.
Okay.
Except for this one has a quad core, so 4 1 gigahertz ARM processors, 2 gigabytes of RAM, and
for $119, that's not too bad. I mean, it's an ARM processor, but still, it's pretty good.
I mean, totally good for media
especially
playback.
with the whole quad thing going on. Yeah,
I have a special mission for mine that I'm going to mention in our syncs when we get to the sync segment.
Oh, I know where you're going.
Yeah, I mean, you totally see where I'm going.
I would totally.
Yeah,
I would. God, I'd love to do that.
I know this, and really, if you look at the price here, the price for one of these boxes is less than what some of these cloud storage services cost for 1 year backup. So we're going to get to that. We're going to talk about how I might use one of these boxes for my offsite backup. But just looking at it, I was tempted to buy 2. To be honest, I couldn't afford it, but I was tempted to because it looks like one could be used as like a little front-end media center. I mean, it's silent. I love the infrared receiver built in. Plus, these guys have shipped products in the past, so this isn't their first time at the rodeo. So it's good stuff here.
Yeah, no kidding.
So it's called SolidRun. We'll have a link to that in the show notes. They're on sale right now because they just announced them this week. And,
I wouldn't mind more colors, but I would tell you that, just because my wife would dig it if it had more color choices. But, maybe white or black.
I kind of like the red, but I think I'd prefer the black.
Yeah. That's kind of where I would be at. Was if I could have a black one, that would with my TV cabinet, that'd be really great. Especially,
I'm really curious to see what. So I'm thinking I'm going to put Arch on there.
Oh yeah, that's the go-to thing.
And I'm thinking 4 1 gigahertz ARM processors. I'm really curious to see how this is going to perform.
Absolutely.
Could it run KDE?
If you're going back and forth with various things and little data here and there.
Are the video card drivers open source? I mean, I'm really interested to see about all of that.
Are they well supported? Are they? Yeah, exactly.
So we will see. I will do a review for it once it comes in. They say it's going to ship mid-November.
Cool.
Yeah, I'm really excited. And they've got some forums rolling. People are talking about them already. They got a wiki page set up. So it's the By the way, Cubox-I. Cubox-I. Link in the show notes if you guys want to talk about it. And again, this is from SolidRun.
I'm sold.
Yeah, I mean, 100. So
I'm 100 bones.
I kind of feel like I obviously way overestimated, but like 2 years ago in our end of year predictions episode, I said you're going to have desktop shipping running ARM processors for Linux.
Yeah.
Now you see it. The only thing that's a little interesting about this, and not exactly where I predicted the trend, well, I kind of speculated, but shipping by default, not with Linux installed, although it fully supports Linux. They're shipping with Android 4.3 or something installed, 4.4.2 or something.
And people are going to balk at the idea, but when you stop and think about it, if you're selling something to get to as many people as possible, they want something that just they're familiar with, really. I mean, that's really the thing, and I think Android's got enough.
Is Android, I mean, these are not touch
devices. That's not
devices.
the best choice for us, but I think for people that are familiar with it. Now, that being said, it's not going to be the best experience overall.
Right? Don't you think?
No, it won't be.
I mean, I wonder if it'd have the Play Store even. Like, I don't even know if it would have, like, Google.
It's a marketing move. It's a marketing move. It's not practical, though.
And I think part of it, too, and this is from a conversation we had with Aaron Saigo way back a while ago when he was working on the Vivaldi tablet, is the hardware manufacturers, like the manufacturing lines in China that assemble these things, they certify the hardware to Android.
Right.
So they say this CPU, this GPU, this Wi-Fi chipset is Android compatible.
And that makes sense. So when you sell it with Android installed, you know that there's no one going to say, it isn't working the way, it's like they're not getting Linux support requests.
And you could throw the F-Droid marketplace on there. You could throw Amazon marketplace on there, and you could load your apps. So, I mean, it's not like it's a big deal. But,
True.
I mean, I'm going to put Linux on it.
Yeah.
It's got an SD card slot, so you just flash Linux on there.
I see a lot of other hardware vendors, like wireless devices. There's a lot of Edimax and things like that. They're primarily aimed at like Windows, but they totally support Linux as well. I think it's that same kind of move to where they're trying to get as much market penetration as they can.
Interesting move, and as more and more stuff, and we're going to have a story about this in the news segment, as more and more stuff goes web-based or web-based applications, totally seems feasible. And I think of like my kids, and just getting them like a machine for doing homework in the future. Why would I buy them a full-fledged x86 PC? Like,
exactly.
It seems like it's almost safer for them to be on ARM because they can't run certain software that's going to get them in trouble.
Totally.
If they trash the machine, I'm only out $90.
That's well, and this is actually something I might bring up to my brother, who's wanting to get a computer for his kids, preferably one that they can't, malware to death.
Yeah.
This might be a really good option.
I mean, having a completely different CPU architecture helps.
Well, 119 for a quad-core ARM, that's not bad. I mean, that's actually that's enough power to run a browser and a few other things.
After the sale, I think it might be going up to 150.
Still.
But still pretty good deal.
That's reasonable.
Yeah. All right, well, now we got a really good deal this week. I'm very, very excited. There's something every now and then something big happens. Something
mind-boggling big.
Something that every now and then you get to a point where, say you've got a great deal.
Sure.
But you just can't get past a certain barrier.
Okay.
You gotta heat it up a little bit. There's only a certain solution.
Kick it up a notch?
Race car drivers get it so far. But every now and then you gotta kick it up a notch in a way that only an 80s action hero, one of my personal favorite 80s action heroes,
Big Van Damme.
Jean-Claude Van Damme.
Wow!
That's right. He's kicking it up a notch over at GoDaddy.com. Get ready for this deal. Use the code SHOW199 when you check out. .com for $1.99.
Nice.
$1.99.
Are you out of your mind?
You can add additional years just for $9.99. So it's still a fantastic deal. If you use the link on our show notes, you go right there at pre-arms. Jean-Claude Van Damme. Now, you might think, what about...
The man himself.
What about those great savings that we were getting from Secret Agent D? Don't worry, friends. Don't worry. I made sure we had an arrangement. Jean-Claude's in there kicking out the savings. He's in the GoDaddy data center right now.
He's already dropped in, and he's all Mission Impossible up in that bad boy.
He's in there waiting for people to place their show199.com orders to get those .coms for $1.99. $1.99. Jean-Claude Van Damme wants you to kick it up. It's go time over at GoDaddy.com. Go to GoDaddy.com. Use the code show199. Get a .com for $1.90 freaking $9.
Nice.
When it's that level, I mean, when you're talking that price, put it on your business card. Put it on an invite. You're having people over for Thanksgiving? Get a .com. Send them out to that.
Absolutely.
Put a page up. You're going to have all your pictures in one spot. Get a .com for that. Show it to people. Make this the season of .coms,
That's
people.
Right.
Show 199 is
Holidays,
incredible.
family get-togethers, just for the hell of it. Anything.
Yep. They've got a lot of really great stuff coming up. They are focusing in on small business, too. So if you're in the business space, GoDaddy.com already has a bunch of great services, like you were just mentioning.
I'm talking about how I actually
kicking up the performance.
I was in the market to rethink my server setup. I run a number of websites, and it was draining me financially, and the performance, quite honestly, even for a dedicated, was crap.
Yeah.
And I just got tired of maintaining it. So I decided, okay, I'm just going to go basically entry-level GoDaddy. Just boom, right down the thing. I went with the deluxe unlimited bandwidth. You know, nothing real fancy. I basically would be...
Like the third tier of their hosting?
Third tier of the hosting, whatever that was. And, you know, the deluxe, whatever. And
that's the one I always go with, too.
I was liking it. I was like,
the middle tier. That's the middle tier.
Yeah, the middle. Or no, I went with Ultimate.
Ultimate, for $7.49.
Totally. And I was just like, you know, why not, right? So I ran a couple of my lower tier websites just to see how the performance would go.
Unlimited bandwidth, unlimited disk space, unlimited databases.
And what really blew my mind is like, okay, the performance is good. Oh, hey, what's this accelerator thing? I click that. Holy crap.
Yeah.
CDN.
Push button CDN.
Push button CDN.
Yeah.
Because I used to have to do that stuff manually, and it was a pain in my butt, especially when they went down.
It's awesome. And so do you notice a big performance difference?
Oh, dude, I couldn't believe it. I'm still running tests because I keep thinking I'm miscalculating.
Yeah,
but no,
so
it's really good.
All modern browsers,
Really
in fact,
like it.
So the other thing is that's actually good for your Google ranking. So one of the things Google checks is they check to see if your image assets load from a different server, a different domain than your website files, because like a multiprocessor, the web browser can load your images from one server and the HTML files from another server, and so they can load at the same time instead of sequentially. So Google ranks you higher because you have a faster site, and your performance is better, so things just snap a lot better. And GoDaddy makes it crazy easy.
Because on the other server, I was running dedicated. I'm taking a performance hit. I don't have that much traffic on it. It was like, what the hell? So this was great. So I'm going to actually see a performance. I'm going to see performance increase and ranking increase.
Even if you don't have the traffic that yet justifies the need of a CDN, because it helps influence your overall page rank. And I would assume Bing's probably doing the same thing because they do everything Google does. Even if you don't need it for traffic purposes, you can use it for SEO purposes. So go over to GoDaddy.com. Get started with an incredible .com for $1.99. Kick it up a notch, people.
And they'll throw in mobile, no extra charge.
Love it. Go check it out.
I'll keep you guys posted as I bring each website up, because thus far I've been really, really happy.
He's in there. He's in there ready to kick out every.
He's got one of the servers got just talking smack, and he had to put the smack down on it. You know,
he's going to punish that server. Going to punish that server. Woo. Love it. All right,
punishment.
So I got a couple of really fun picks. The first one is the Android pick, and I have been trying to really zero in on a mobile mail solution. So I've got, we've been talking about rolling my own email server and setting all that up. And one of the things I want to do is I need to replace the stock Gmail app, because the Gmail app has actually gotten really good on Android.
It's not bad.
Yeah. And I'm going to miss that if I switch to an IMAP only server.
Oh yeah.
So I'm like, what can I do to kind of get some of that great functionality, or maybe even better? Way better functionality. Turns out it's called Evo Mail. It's a modern webmail client. If you're familiar with Mailbox on iOS, where they had like a huge introduction, it's kind of like that. Now, it's hard to see in the video version, but man, I'm going to kind of give you a little demo here, and you can kind of.
Okay.
So here is my.
You've launched the app.
Here's my inbox, and it also can, if you want,
that's
include
very
clean, right?
Very clean.
Yeah.
It actually reminds me a little bit of Gmail, but it's actually cleaner.
Yeah. And if you want, you can get notifications of important emails in your drop-down. And then, here's what I really, really love, and this is a little hard to demonstrate, but when I'm going through, if I see an email, I can take immediate action right here from the screen. If I just swipe it.
Sure.
Oops. If I just, like I say, swipe it here.
Oh, yeah.
It marks it as deleted. If I swipe the other way, if I go the other way, it marks it as archived. So it's not deleted, but now it's not in my inbox. It's helping me, so it's really easy to
back and forth, and it shows you as you're doing it whether it's a green check mark for archive or an X for deletion. I like that.
And it makes it really easy to just open up your inbox and go swipe, 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 swipe. Oh, that's crap, that's crap, that's crap. Save that, save that, save that. Okay, but now it gets even better. So once you go into an email, you have options like, oh, I need to follow up on this, so I need to mark this as due tomorrow. And then it adds,
as a task. Okay.
It adds a reminder to my Google Calendar.
Oh, nice. Yeah. Now we're having a conversation.
Yeah, and the other thing I can do is a little button here at the bottom. It lets me tag it really quickly. So
okay, so it's like labels.
Yeah, exactly. So I can say, oh, this is an email I need to save for a show. Let me add that to one of my tags here, and then just have a little list of tags here at the bottom, all of my Gmail tags. I connected this to a Google Apps account.
Sure.
So this is connected to my Jupiter Broadcasting Google Apps account right now. It has a good UI where you have a slide-out drawer that lets you get to like a lot of extra stuff, your sent mail, your drafts, all your labels there at the bottom.
And the labels I think really helps too, because again, we're coming from a Gmail space that's very familiar to us.
Yeah, I like.
They do a nice job of it. It's clean.
The conversation thread feature is pretty cool too. And you can have multiple accounts, so you can have multiple email accounts in here, and it's free. It's free. It's fast.
I may look into that.
If you pull down, it'll do a pull down to refresh, and when you pull down, it's got a search there at the top, so it's got built-in inbox search.
It's kind of like everything I wanted to have in the Google app, but it never really did.
And you don't have to be pointed at Gmail,
Right.
which is really nice.
Yeah, totally. You're in control of which
Yeah.
email you want to use.
It is a little early days. Like one feature it doesn't have, and I would really like to see, and I've seen that other people have requested it from the developer, is GPG support.
That'd be
And,
nice.
However, I am looking into Android applications that will encrypt beforehand and then export to this application. So it just sends this application an encrypted email, and
Works
then you
for
can
me
send
too.
it off. Yeah, so I'll explore the encryption side of this more down the road. But so it's Evo Mail, absolutely free EVO Mail, modern mobile email, and it is. You guys know I have serious email anxiety. Like I've got problems around my email, and
your expectations are up
Yeah.
there somewhere. You know, I mean, you have some pretty high expectations.
having like when I'm like somewhere waiting on somebody, or I got a few minutes to kill, being able to pull out this and just whittle away at the inbox super quick, really really handy. I've been only using it for a couple of days, and this is pretty much now how I'm checking my email, and then I'm sort of doing my processing on my mobile device, and then when I need to sit down and really work at it, then everything that's left in my inbox, I then take it care of at my desktop.
So essentially, this has become your Swiss Army knife whittling tool
Yeah.
to handle your email, and it works out
Totally
pretty
is.
well. And
I whittle it down, and I deal with the important stuff at the desktop.
the man loves to whittle. I'm just saying.
I do love to whittle.
That's right.
Okay. All right. So that's the Android app pick. We'll have a link to that in the show notes, as well as a link to our past picks, which you can
stuff.
find. We every now and then hear from people like, "Hey, I just got a new Android device. What should I install?" I'm like, "Go look at the past picks."
That's right.
It's a list of the best.
Good reason to watch the show.
Every now and then, Matt, we got to talk about a console application. In our
We
desktop
need to
pick.
throw it in there.
This is one of those that's pretty much universal. It's not even specific to Linux. Obviously, you'll know why, but once I tell you the name, and it's just for screwing around. You're not really going to get much serious work done. It's called BSD Games. Was submitted into the subreddit.
Nice.
And I felt like this week, of all weeks, was very appropriate to feature this app pick. So you install BSD Games from your repo, and then you get a whole
Gives you
list of
a
stuff.
whole library of it.
I thought maybe you and I could play with the chat room today.
Okay.
The chat room is a little behind, but it might be fun. So one of the things that is installed with BSD Games is Hangman.
Right.
These are all terminal-based games, right?
That's cool.
Yeah. So here's our Hangman.
You know what's really awesome is you could do the stuff at work and it looks like you're productive.
Oh yeah. All right, Matt. So we got to make a few guesses here. So I'm going to guess S. Okay, I got it. You want to guess one?
W.
W. Oh, nope.
No?
How about J?
J.
T.
L.
L. Oh, good. Good.
Yeah,
L's
got it
good.
now.
L's good. O.
T.
Oh, T. No, I think we already did T. Yes. Yes,
Okay,
we already
did T.
guessed
Okay. But we can see what that
E?
looks like.
Oh.
E. Okay. N.
No. Oh, man. He's got a leg now.
J. Did we do J?
I don't think so. Oh, we already did J.
Oh, okay.
B. Oh, he's got a
Oh, you got a
B.
B. B word.
S. A. Okay. I feel like we should have it now at this point. I feel like we should probably have it. E. A. L. Okay. M. N. Okay. We already did I. The word was deadlocked.
Yeah, I see. I wouldn't have guessed
So he
that.
hung. He got hung. There's another good one. Like I think there's a Morse code generator. I forget
Oh,
what it's called.
that'd be pretty cool.
Yeah, Morse. I think it's just called Morse actually.
I'm sure. Yeah.
And then you can give it a word. So let's say Linux action show, right? And you hit enter, and then it's tit dot dit 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 dot dit dit dot dit doop. See, you get the Morse code for the Linux
You know what
action
you need to
show.
do is you copy and paste that, and then you like email it to people.
Right? Yeah. Then they got
Just to annoy them. It's like, the NSA has figured out the encryption, but I'll bet this will just make them go, wait, what the hell? Dit dot what now? Yeah. Just for fun. Troll the NSA.
Some of them you have to have a certain screen. Like there's one called Robots.
Okay.
Snake. Of course, you're familiar with Snake,
Oh,
right?
yeah.
You remember good old
Oh,
Snake.
man.
Let me fire up Snake here.
May have
Now
to
these
do
are
a
all from
pseudo-
BSD ported to Linux, but okay. So here we go. Now I'm controlling the Snake with my mouse cursor or with my
Snake Chama.
with my arrow keys. Yeah. So there you go. You got a bunch of really good
That's
BSD
cool.
games. These are the kinds of games you can play with while you're SSH'd into your machine.
Exactly, right? It's
Right?
like you're waiting for something to do whatever. Yeah.
Hey, here's a backgammon game. Let's give that a shot. Let's see what that looks like on the console. Oh boy, whole lot of text. Oh my goodness.
Whoa.
Yeah, that's a wall.
Whoa.
You got to figure some of this is a wall of text.
Some of it's going to be a little,
Yeah.
little much.
Trek. Let's see what Trek is. Star Trek. Oh, I
Oh,
think we just hit
my
the money,
God.
Matt.
I smell
Length
ASCII
of
art. I
game?
smell ASCII art. I'll bet you. What do you want to bet?
Length of game. Well, what are my valid inputs? Oh, okay, short. We'll do a short game. Skill level. What are my options? Novice, because I have no idea what I'm doing here. Enter a password. Star Trek. All right, that seems like a good one. Command is okay. 5 Klingons, 4 star bases at 6.5. It takes 250 units to kill a Klingon. All right, well let's cloak.
Oh God, this reminds me of the old role-playing game. Back in the day, I used to play that a little bit because
Oh, yeah.
where you're
An old mud type
yeah,
game.
because you're I think it was instead of Dungeon Master, I think it was Admirals or I don't remember how the hell they did that, Fleet Commander or whatever it was. It like basically did
All
your
right,
game for you. So that's cool.
I'm gonna test this game. So
All right.
I just cloaked the ship. Now let's see if it lets me fire phasers while the ship is cloaked. So, Captain, we cannot fire through our shields.
Well, it's accurate.
Yeah.
Someone did their homework.
All right, very good.
It's approval.
I'm impressed. So there you go. BSD games. There's a whole.
We know what he's going to be playing later.
Yeah. Actually, that'd be a great game to play while I have video encoding because it's not like it's CPU intensive.
All right.
Yeah. There's like 30 of them or something. There's a whole bunch. We have them all. If you install the BSD games package, it'll pull them down, including
That's
Battlestar,
really cool.
Backgammon, Banner, Random Rain, Quiz, Snake, Tetris BSD. Really? Okay. We should look at Tetris really quick. Do I have Tetris BSD installed? I got to see how you would do a Tetris on the command line. I guess maybe with ASCII characters.
Yeah, I'm thinking so.
All right, let's find.
Yeah,
you gotta see. The thing is, I'm doing it in my drop-down terminal, so not all the games.
You got to do it in a different thingy.
Yeah. All right. Well,
Joggers.
so BSD games, obviously free.
Yeah.
And
Good time.
And
Playing the
if
Star Trek.
that's not enough BSD for you, well, then I have got some good news, ladies and gentlemen, because BSD Now Episode 1 just aired over at JupiterBroadcasting.com. Very excited about this. Alan Jude from TechSnap has teamed up with Chris Moore. Does that name ring a bell?
That does ring a bell. I know a Chris Moore.
That's right. Chris Moore is the creator of PCBSD. In fact, he still works on it. This is his full-time gig now. So the creator of PCBSD has joined Alan Jude, and they are doing a BSD podcast every single week over at JupiterBroadcasting.com. And you can go watch episode 1. It just aired. Get in at the very beginning. In this episode, they interviewed Peter Hessler about his work with BGP SpamD in the OpenBSD project. They also did a tutorial on setting up a VPN, and they covered BSD news, as well as did a little bit of introduction about themselves. It
was a big show, really.
Yeah, it was a really big show. It was a huge show. It was a huge show, Matt. And they're going to just keep doing it. They're going to go to conferences.
Wow.
They're going to cover it from there. I'm really excited where they're going. And it's fun to get in on a show when it's at the ground level because shows change a lot over the first 10, 20
totally.
episodes. And so when
It's
you watch
finding
from the
it's
beginning,
normal, you know?
Yep, exactly. Yeah. Mm-hmm. And really cool. Alan's doing it out of his home office in New York, and then sends me the files for editing and posting.
That's great.
And they're doing it live on Wednesdays over jblive.tv, and then publishing. We don't exactly know. It's either Thursday morning or Friday morning. Mm-hmm. It'll be publishing over at JupiterBroadcasting.com.
Good stuff.
Brand new
folks.
show all about our open source cousin, the BSDs. It's not just free BSD either. It's all of them.
That's great because it's encompassing everybody.
And both Alan and Chris are very involved in the BSD communities. Chris also goes to just about every Linux conference out there.
Oh,
so
really?
they'll have a lot of that stuff there too. He does that as part of his outreach, as part of his job. So they'll have a ton of stuff from the conferences going on, ton of stuff from the BSD community. They got lots of interviews lined up. Really looking forward to see what's going to go. So go check out BSD Now. And if you want even more, they've got bsdnow.tv where they post additional content, schedule news, things like that. Yeah.
All that good
Pretty
stuff.
exciting, Matt. Pretty exciting for a brand new show.
Yeah, no kidding.
All right, Matt. Let's do the news.
Hey, it's the news, and this episode is brought to you by
Ting.com, Matt. You know that. Ting is mobile that makes sense. Mobile that rocks. It's a no BS mobile service, and you can get a great deal by going to last.ting.com. Now, both Matt and I are Ting customers. Let me bust out my HTC One here. Right here, Matt. Chappelle, you know what this is? A mobile
Nice phone.
hotspot. It's a mobile hotspot.
No kid. In your pocket.
It's a tethering device. It's my connection to the world.
Nice.
And I think right now my Ting account is like, you know what? Maybe I'll just go log in and check.
Yeah, it's that easy.
Hey, you know what I don't need? I don't need your judging, Matt. I'm just going to tell you.
Well,
I don't want your guessing. All right, my Ting bell. Wow.
Whoa.
My current Ting rate right now is $12 for this month. Now,
you know, you're going to need a second mortgage to pay this. I mean, $12.
the month did just start. The month did just start. But
That is crazy cheap.
I'll tell you, if you're even just a little bit savvy, you can really make Ting work for you because I do a lot of my calls over VoIP. Majority of those are over Wi-Fi, and I am very comfortable managing that. I've been doing it for several years now. This is one of the reasons why Ting is fantastic for me because I only pay for what I use. Ting has got a really great system where they break your rates out into buckets. So say they take your minutes, they take your text messages, they take your megabytes, and they'll just put them all together, and whatever bucket you fall into at the end of that month, that's what you pay. So for me right now, that's $12. It'll be more than that, but not a lot more. It's a fantastic deal.
But I love the fact that they have articles that help you accomplish those types of things. It's like, you know, maybe I want to use some VoIP with my, and they actually will work with you.
Yeah, I talked about it a little while ago. They have a great article. It's like, here's a couple of apps you can use to essentially eliminate, voice minutes.
When's the last time your mobile company did that for you?
Never.
Yeah.
Now, Ting has a bunch of really, really fantastic unlocked devices over at last.ting.com. I thought maybe I'd point people to a device they're having a sale on today. Check this out, Matt. This is the LG Optimus F3. Yeah, the LG Optimus F3 Titanium. Now, I'm not saying it reminds me of a Transformer because of copyright infringement, but I'm saying it reminds me of a Transformer.
That's right.
And this is a dual-core 1.2 gigahertz smartphone with 4G LTE, and they have this right now.
Really good.
$255 unlocked, no contract. Plus, when you go to last.ting.com, they're factoring in that's $25 savings right there you're getting by just visiting last.ting.com. So you go for a mobile service, pay for what you want, an unlocked smartphone, no contract, $255, dual-core, LTE capable, and this LG Optimus is actually a fantastic phone. This is a really well-reviewed phone, and it has amazing speakers on it as well. It's one of the things I've really got into lately.
No contracts, right? I mean, I love that.
Probably the other thing that I'd say it has over a leg up over the HTC One, although I love my HTC One, is it has a removable battery.
Although you do got that I need a new phone bug going, I can feel it.
I do. I kind of, a little bit, yeah. It has a great big battery. It's kind of its claim to fame is its huge battery and the fact that it's removable. It's got a Android 412 Jelly Bean on there and that dual 1.2 gigahertz core. Yeah, I'm all about that. And 4 gigs of RAM, too, for $255 off contract.
Hello.
Unlocked. How awesome is that?
No contract, unlocked. Gotta love it.
Ting is really awesome. So go to last.ting.com. Your average Ting bill, $21. If you're savvy like I am, you can get it even lower than that. And they've got a price calculator right here. If you go to last.ting.com, click how much you would save, put in your bill information, and then be amazed. And then you can see why, even if a lot of times when you factor in your early termination fee, it's still saving you money to switch to Ting. And I just recently beat the Ting service about in the most worst-case scenario you could be, PAX, and it performed amazingly.
You were the only person, or at least one of the only people there that had.
The Ting customers.
The Ting customers actually had service, and no one else did.
What's cool about the Ting is an MVNO of Sprint, and what's great about that is Sprint has your standard 2G, 3G, LTE, and in our area and a lot of other areas, they also have WiMAX. That's 4 different types of bands that I can jump my phone onto when I'm out and about if I'm having trouble, and 2 of those bands are extremely high speed.
And WiMAX is a really great fallback.
Yeah, it is super slick, and if you've got the Ting service, since hotspot and tethering are built in, if you've got somebody there that has a WiMAX phone, you just have them turn on the WiMAX and share the love with everybody else, or same with LTE. So obviously you know that Ting's got no mysterious line items because they are one of the most upstanding mobile companies I think you're ever going to see out there. They've also got an amazing online control panel. I just showed you mine super quick. I jumped in there and saw how many, what my bill was, what my data usage was. Another thing, one of my favorite Ting features, they actually have a person who's going to answer the phone. If you call them at 1-855-TING-FTW, anytime between 8 a.m. and 8 p.m., Ting has got a rep who's going to answer your support call.
A live person.
Isn't that a concept? A phone company that answers the phone.
And I read here not too long ago, someone was actually, I think they were switching a Sprint phone or whatever. The Ting representative stayed on the line with Sprint.
Yeah, we just had awesome. Somebody just wrote up a fantastic post in our subreddit about their Ting experience with that, and they said 9 out of 10, great experience. And
and they really narrowed it down point by point what the experience was like, and it was really good.
It is a very in-depth review. In fact, I should have grabbed that because that guy really went all out. It was really
awesome.
Yeah, and it shows you and one of the great things is we're hearing from people that are all over the United States that are getting different levels of service. And when you combine it all together, at the end of the day, what stands clear is that Ting really stands out. They are really making a difference. And I hope they're pushing the mobile industry in a new direction, too.
Absolutely. So that would be the great thing, to see the ecosystem evolve.
Oh, yeah. And to really see the industry get more competitive, to see the industry get fair, and to treat the customers with respect, just like Ting does. So go to last.ting.com, take $25 off your first month of service or off your first device. Either way, if you bring your own device, you can just take it right off your service, which you might even get your first month free at that point. But if you want to grab a device, they've got used devices, new devices, and that LG I pointed out. All great deals.
That's right.
Thanks to Ting for sponsoring the Linux Action Show, and thanks to you guys for supporting our sponsor. Okay, man, I thought we'd start with a couple of big stories this week. We got some big uns. I think one that made the most mainstream shockwaves. We got our first story made the most mainstream shockwaves. Our second-ish, third story made the most internal community shockwaves. Let's start with Dell plans to expand their Ubuntu retail presence in China, and they're doing a pretty big one at that. Right now they have 400 stores that are Dell stores in China that have Ubuntu in there. Now they're expanding that to 1,000 consumer-facing outlets in China that will begin selling computers preloaded with the Chinese language edition of Ubuntu 12.04 over the next coming weeks.
Makes a lot of sense on multiple levels. For one thing, it helps to avoid the whole Microsofty experience over in China. But I think it's also interesting in that because Dell is trying to rebrand itself and trying to find its new normal, I think this is providing them with a test opportunity in a really big market to see if they can, in fact, perhaps begin doing that elsewhere.
So I think you just answered what I was going to ask you. So I was going to say, why is Dell doing this in China? Why aren't they doing this in Europe or America?
Because, in China, they're open to trying lots of Linux stuff. I mean, it's not a foreign concept to them.
Is that because they are afraid of like NSA backdoors and the big empire controlling the world? Or is it...
the government is. I think the people, quite honestly, are just more willing to try something else besides just they don't live in a Microsoft-only space like we do. The U.S. is, quite frankly, kind of lazy when it comes to computers.
So there's still kind of an opportunity for a new normal to be set.
Yeah, absolutely, because they're not engraved into any one segment of doing things. So.
I guess, okay, so I was wondering, like, because to me, honestly, I was not offended, but I was like, a little bit like, well, screw you, Dell. Screw you, because we've all been waiting for you to step up your game for years, and you finally take a move in the right direction, like a big move, like a move, like we've seen them dip their toes in. We've been, oh, that's adorable. They have one machine on one subline of one product that they consider a niche for a niche of a niche, the developers of Linux users. And I'm like, oh, that's cute, Dell. Look at your commitment. That's great. Well, but then I see this like, wow, thousands of stores. That's a huge move. Oh, in China only. Womp womp.
Well, see, again, you got to look at privately held corporation versus a publicly held corporation, and why Dell, of course, wants to bring its shares back home. But for right now, I believe they're still publicly shared, and because of that, they have to answer to shareholders. And that means that they're not doing Ubuntu because they think Linux is awesome. They're doing anything and everything they can to get as much revenue into their little coin purse as possible.
You're right.
And that's what they're doing with this. A smaller, privately held company, System 76, ZA Reason, whoever, these guys are looking at doing what they love. That's the differential. So
great point.
Them doing it in China, it's a numbers game. That's all it is.
This is more about
it's a dollar run.
So you're saying, and I think I agree with where you're going with this. This is more a statement about the state of Windows and Microsoft than it is about embracing Linux.
Absolutely, yeah, it is. They see the ball. They see Ballmer leaving. They see them continuing to, Microsoft to continue to do stupid at unbelievable pace. And I think they're beginning to plan for the future. But they're doing so in a safe haven so that they don't. The American audience is very brand centric, and that's just how we are. And so I think by doing it in China, they can kind of test the ground, see how that works. If they end up selling a boatload there, that's great. They don't even have to touch the American market. They don't have to redo their advertising.
And if they like you say, they're going to get a lot of good feedback and experience without really having to worry about upsetting partners here, Microsoft and things like that.
Dell, I'm sure Dell's the kind of company. I mean, it's kind of like and I'm going to turn for this. It's like the pharmaceutical companies that like to test out new drugs in Africa. It's a horrible thing to say, but it's kind of frankly it's the same principle. The difference is you probably get less side effects unless you used Windows. But anyway, it's kind of
interesting.
Bad Matt. But no, I'm serious. It's the same mindset, although both are evil. But yeah.
Okay.
So,
all right. There you go.
And I'm a bad person.
Now, however, maybe this is like the pregame.
Yeah.
And maybe now
I think so. I think they're open to the idea. They're open to transforming completely transforming their company, but they need that test bed, if you will, to do that. So.
Well, they need to do something, don't they?
Yeah.
Let's talk about Plasma Active. Version 4 just hit the interwebs. And this is the sort of implementation of Plasma that is focused on mobile. I guess let's just put it that way.
Yeah.
And they've got a lot of different optimizations in here, including one that I thought is always good to see listed: faster and smoother.
No, faster and smoother is good.
Yeah, always good. But this is really the bullet point that kind of grabbed my attention. They now have built-in synchronization, not with Google, not with Yahoo, not with Hotmail.com. With OwnCloud. And I think that is awesome because OwnCloud has a lot of potential, but one of the things it doesn't have is that built-in integration, like where you go into the settings application, you just click Gmail and put in your credentials and it's all set up. They're rolling that in to Plasma Active. They have several images you can download. I'll try starting mine up here. So it's a little tricky. I went and got a Kubuntu based one. They call it Kubuntu Active.
Nice.
And okay, all right, fine. VirtualBox, jeez Louise.
Oh,
I guess in VirtualBox you can't click that.
You can't do anything in VirtualBox.
Here's one thing that is a little tricky if you get the VirtualBox image, and they strongly suggest that you don't even bother running in VirtualBox because right out of the gate, they have the mouse cursor disabled because you don't need a mouse cursor in touch. And you have to use the mouse to enable the mouse cursor. So prepare yourselves for a mental ritual that is quite challenging. But here you go, Matt.
But could be rewarding. Yeah.
Here, I'll turn up the so we get. I think we'll get a little sound if all goes as well. A little KDE log. So you notice how the background fades in, very nice, right? Good looking loader.
Very nice.
And what I can kind of do is I can kind of just clunk around a little bit. I won't be able to use it too efficiently because of there it is.
There it is. I hear you.
So this is the Plasma Active Desktop, and you can kind of see like I can click and drag, and I can move these Plasma widgets around. And if I go up here, let's see if I can see. I don't have a mouse cursor, so I don't really know where my mouse is.
Oh, wow.
If I go up to the top here, it's a little hard, but you can. Oh, and it crashed, but that's okay. That happens sometimes. Right. Wait for it. Nope, and it crashed again. So up there where the clock is the application drawer, and you pull that down. I think it's going to crash too much for letting me do it.
Little tab, do you?
Yeah, I really like what they're doing here. So not only do KDE activities make a lot more sense in, oh, geez, it didn't crash this much earlier when I was playing with it in VirtualBox, but now it's really crashing like crazy. You got to give it a ton of memory. You got to give it 128 megabytes of video memory.
That's quite a bit.
Yeah, I mean, you really got to treat it. It's not ideal in VirtualBox. It's really kind of meant to go on a device. So if you have a device for it, that'd be best. But the way it works is you've got this where the clock is. That's a pull-down tab. All of your applications are up there. We've seen it before on the show, so I don't have to show it now, but I just kind of wanted to. And your settings are in there and all that stuff. The KDE activities make a lot more sense when you have a touch interface, I think, because you could have it in work mode, play mode, kid mode, right? Imagine if I had a kid activities mode.
Oh,
that would be really nice. So if you want to, you can download the Kubuntu Active, load it in VirtualBox, and then they have instructions on their site on how to turn the mouse cursor back on, and then you can use it like all you want. You know, you can check it out. It is really interesting to see how the different KDE components, like the volume, the notifications, all that different stuff. It's obvious that they're using the back-end infrastructure for that and then representing it in a different way. So it's not like they're rewriting code.
Sure.
It's like there's these multiple layers, and they can repurpose one layer to present it in a different way. And it's come surprisingly far in, I don't know how long they've been working on this, but months, not super long.
Yeah, it doesn't seem like it's been out for a ton of time, but it seems like they made a ton of progress, though.
Yeah, you can go in and disable mouse integration, but that still doesn't really help that much. It makes it a little easier to see where your mouse is at. So there's a few steps they walk you through. They now support local file storage, which is great. Viewing Office documents, PDFs, tagging for just regular adding your own user-defined metadata to files, which then integrates in with the tablet search system. All kinds of stuff. So
good stuff.
They're moving right along, Matt. Now, on the other side of the efforts to move to mobile, Canonical got a bit of a setback this week when the Intel, I guess it's a developer who's maintaining the X driver.
That's kind of my understanding of it, yeah.
They say, no, we will not be maintaining the patch for Xmirror from our Xorg driver, and they kind of gave Canonical a little slap down. This escalation came just a little bit after Canonical submitted a patch to the XF86 video Intel driver on September 7th. Wow, that was, it's just the other day.
Yeah, that was very recent.
A few minutes later, a subsequent comment included a short, though slightly hostile blurb, and it went from an Intel developer saying, "We do not condone or support Canonical in the course of action they have chosen, and we will not carry Xmirror patches upstream. Signed, the management."
Well, and if you look at it from Intel's point of view, I think that in general it makes sense that they look at this logically and say, look, we can either go in a industry direction, whether it be Apple or Microsoft, or in this particular case Linux, and they can say, okay, we're kind of trending toward a Wayland approach, maybe from X or whatever. But with Mirror, it's kind of like standing out there on its own little island, and I think they're looking at this saying, honestly, you guys can maintain the patch. We're not going to deal with it. And that's what's going to happen. That's what's going to happen.
The subreddit has been on fire over the last 22 hours.
Yeah,
164 comments on this thread. And, of course, like all things on Reddit, after about an hour of commenting, things got ugly.
Oh, yeah, it usually does. Usually does. Oh, yeah, blank you,
that's
too.
The internet. However, I kind of look at this Sam over at OMG Ubuntu. He points out that he doesn't know if Intel's decision is entirely impartial because the company has a stake in the success of Wayland. Intel employs several developers to work full time.
Well, then of course,
Wayland.
that's what makes sense. And I think that they saw the writing on the wall in that not only are they employing that and they have a vested interest, but again, I think that if you really look at it, they see Wayland as being more inclusive, where Mir is more centric to Ubuntu's interests only.
Yeah.
And so they have to make the broader choice. They're not going to be able to support both.
Michael Hall, in Canonical Employee writing on Google Plus, said that the decision was essentially Intel trying to win the race by tripping the competition, not by running faster.
Written on an Ubuntu blog. So I take it as this. Look, it's not the end of the world. Ubuntu people, if you're an Ubuntu fan, don't quit freaking out. It just means that the Ubuntu developer is going to have to manage the patch. That's all it means. It's not the end of the world.
Yeah.
So don't freak out. Who cares?
I can totally see it that way, but I go back and I think we touched on this on like Linux Unplugged episode 1. Is we all sit here and you and I do it all the time. People in our audience do it all the time. We always say, well, one of the great things about Linux is choice. If you don't like your desktop, you can pick a new desktop.
That's
on
exactly
Arch,
it.
if I don't like the way my fonts are rendered, I swap out the font subsystem. I mean, like I can on Arch, I can swap out everything. Like it's all. If I wanted to start using Wayland today, I could. Right.
That's right.
However, all of a sudden we have decided that when somebody wants to make a different display server, that's where the choice has to stop. That's where we can no longer have choice and let things organically work themselves out in an open source ecosystem. No, we must shun the bastards who have created the fork because how dare they do something different. And while I understand technically it doesn't hold up to Wayland, and while I understand that the motivations are for Canonical to create something they control and we don't like that, at the same time, how can we be the community that constantly is triumphing saying, look at our choice, look at our depth, look at all these distros, look at all these desktops.
But there's a difference.
Don't you touch that display server, don't you touch it.
No, there's a difference between teaching a man to fish and fishing for him. Instead of Intel fishing for us, it's saying, look, you want to do it, go for it. We're not going to help you, but you're more than welcome to do whatever the hell you want.
Yeah.
And that's exactly what's happening in this case. And so even though I will have to wear a monkey suit undoubtedly, it's certainly shaping up that way. The point being is that no one said, not only are we not going to support it, but we're going to take efforts to block you doing this yourselves. They're not saying that. They're just saying, look, man, good luck.
And I think
good luck to you, buddy.
I mean, I do see where the guys at Canonical are a little frustrated. Alan Pope said, who joined us on Unplugged last week, said that this decision just means more work for us. We have to keep integrating Xmir patches into X with every release update.
Right. And is it fair? Well, no, it kind of sucks. I mean, I get it. It's going to be an expense. It's going to be a hassle. But they chose to take that course of action, which, honestly, if they didn't think this was going to happen, that's pretty naive.
Yeah, and I think also we have to remember that Xmir is not Mir, right?
No.
Xmir is a component that allows you to run X11 Windows in the Mir environment. And
it's a big green moldy Band-Aid they slap over X to make it work. I mean, it's really
so
sucks,
it's not like they have to patch it for indefinitely, probably for a while, longer than they probably are willing to accept.
And that's why, and Intel's looking at this going, it's the turd in the room. They're thinking, why the hell would we do this?
Yeah.
So,
and
I'm on Intel's side.
I kind of am too. Where it comes down to it doesn't make essentially the way I see it is Canonical is trying to push that patch upstream to make them do that work.
Yeah. It was props for trying.
I mean, if Xmir was going to be widely deployed, then we'd have a different conversation here. But the reality is, and I want to back up too, just to play devil's advocate.
Okay.
Shaking things up on the display server is a level of incompatibility, may or may not be, but it could potentially become a level of incompatibility Linux has never seen. You can have different sound servers, you can have different upstart and system daemons, you can have all this different components, you can have your user local directory over here and my user local directory symlinked over here.
Sure.
That's all fine and dandy, doesn't really affect anybody. But display servers, that is one constant that Linux has had for 20 plus years, right? I mean, forever. As long as there's been a Linux, there has been an X11 that has been true and steady, and you can write to that, and it has been one universal factor across all Linux systems. One of the few universal factors across all Linux systems.
You could count on it,
and that ended when Canonical announced Mir.
Yeah.
And so
But I see that as a good thing, because what it did is it lit a fire under Wayland's butt. It also made sure that you're actually seeing a space race of essentially that's really what you're seeing. It's like the space race between Russia and the U.S. we're literally seeing a space race. I just launched something off my finger.
Well, it is interesting that Matt's response here was, or was it Michael? Michael's response is that he calls it a race.
Yeah,
he said they're trying to win the race. I didn't know it was a race, but I guess it is.
But sometimes that's where that's when NASA really got busy, was during the space race. That's where some really amazing things happened, just because there was motivation to really get something done and be first.
Yes, sir.
And so that's what we're seeing here, and I think that's an exciting thing. Good for Mir. I'm glad it's coming out, because it is. It's pushing development. We're no longer going to rely on tired ass X. So no more.
Yeah,
no more.
It has been good in a lot of ways.
Yep.
Okay. Well, Way of the Future has been shown to us. Google to bring new packaged Chrome apps to Linux. The new Chrome apps support working offline, have greater application feeling to them than just a Chrome web page, supports Google Drive integration and other web services, and the apps can be launched directly from the desktop. So you got offline, you got better integration, you're going to have a new launcher built into Chrome, you can fire them even when you don't have an internet connection, and they can save to Google Drive or other services.
Potentially could be a big deal.
Yeah, I
could
mean,
be huge. It could also suck, but it may be a positive thing. I mean, there's a mixed bag there.
I look at this and I think if this is successful, this in a lot of ways, it's almost hard to be too judgy, because the things that a web app can do now, if you would have asked Chris 5 years ago if they could do them, I would have told you you're crazy. You know, I would have told you you're crazy. This stuff is incredible. This stuff is super powerful. And okay, I just on the pre-show on the live stream went into this crazy Google rant. Right? I mean, I just spent like I ranted, right? However, I look at this and I think this solves such a wide range of problems. You got your data sync problem solved.
Yes.
You've got your application compatibility problem solved. You've got your distribution method solved, because they're going to obviously do it through Chrome web stores and things like that. They probably don't have to, but it's probably going to be the premier location. And it really solves desktop compatibility. These same applications will work the same on Windows, Linux, and Mac.
So it's a little bit, if it runs well, I mean, really, it's kind of like Java without the crotch punch. Right?
Yeah, I mean, I bet
to the performance, you know.
I bet it actually, in a lot of ways, and
it's kind of what it reminds me of.
I think people are going to start to expect that their applications just write to a cloud storage, and then when they open on the other device, it just opens from the cloud storage. I think that's just going to become an expectation of users. And when you have, and again, I'm not saying it's necessarily going to be a good thing, but I'm arguing for the benefits here. I could see how these things are going to work on Chromebooks. These things are going to work on iPads
and it's in their
Androids.
interest to make these things happen, and I think that's great. And I think it's cool that in typical Google fashion, they're going to make it available to us silly Linux people.
And because they need to make it work on x86 chips, they need to make it work on ARM chips, they need to make it work on all these different platforms, it's going to work on Linux, it's going to work on, I mean,
so there's some side benefits there.
I honestly think web apps have been a huge, even though they're often connected to closed source backend services.
They're not RMS approved, but, you know.
But they make, like Google Docs makes if you're a Google Docs user and not an Office user, nothing holding you back from switching to Linux.
Yeah,
right? And so it really does enable more people to run different platforms.
It does provide a very tasty gateway drug to, hey, you're getting into these Google apps. You're liking that. Oh, hey, look at that. You can do that on this
Think about the
desktop
advertising possibilities.
True. Oh, yeah. It's all about that money. Money.
So I was at PAX last weekend.
You were.
And I missed a talk because I only attended Friday, so that way I could make it back here to do the show. And one thing that I really wish I would have sat down for was apparently this great talk. Some big names sat down, and the topic of OpenGL, DirectX, and cross-platform gaming came up. Chris Roberts of Wing Commander fame, who's now developing Star Citizen, came out, and he was just really blunt about what he'd like to see happen in the future of gaming. I'm going to play a clip of this.
Yeah.
It's really short. It's a little awkward, but I love hearing from these developers. You know, we were getting it right from their mouth, right? It's not a PR release.
And you're not getting the mouthpiece stuff. You're not getting the game of telephone. You're getting right from the horses.
So we'll just play a little bit of their conversation.
So speaking of hardware, more on the graphics side, is there anything you guys would like to see from NVIDIA, from AMD in the next 5 years? Any sort of wish list you have in terms of features you'd like to see them provide, or better cooperation from those companies?
Not having to use DirectX.
Really? Why is that?
I'll go even further and say, you know, we've abandoned DirectX at this point. We're 100% OpenGL because we want to be cross-platform on Linux and Mac and all that kind of stuff. And once you do that, there's not really a point in supporting DirectX, except the drivers are a lot better, so we pay a price for that. So.
Yeah, but it'd be much better to go straight to the hardware. If you
can. Oh, hey, if they want to let us go straight to the hardware, I'm down.
Well, you've only got 2 major manufacturers out there, so there you go.
No, I think it's definitely something that could happen.
So that kind of raises the question: how long is PC gaming going to be Windows gaming?
I think that's up to Microsoft. They've been doing a pretty good job trying to kill it. You know, games for Windows Live, the Windows 8 App Store that you basically can't sell games on. I mean, all these things. You know, hopefully we'll see some reversals there, but they've been doing a good job trying to push it. I think everyone's hedging their bets a little bit right now. I'm confident that something will be called a PC, and we'll use it for a long time into the future, though.
Yeah, well, I mean, I think PC the crowd talks. So Microsoft always tries to change things around, and then ultimately they sort of backtrack. So you're even seeing it now. The next Windows 8 release is basically going back to look a lot more like Windows 7. You can have your start on the left side,
So-
and you can run everything that you can do on Windows 7 and Windows 8.
I take away two things from this talk. The first thing I take away is, like he said, they're already beginning to hedge their bets there, and to do that, they have to move away from DirectX.
Right.
And once you kind of make that move, that's a snowball, right? Because
Yes, it
your whole development shop's got to move that direction. Though that last guy who's talking there, you kind of hear like they're still. These developers are a little shook up about what's going on. Like they're still kind of hoping that Microsoft's going to swoop in and release Windows 8.2 or 8.5
Right.
that fixes all of this stuff. They're like, yeah, they're getting a little better in 8.1. No, they're not. They've added a button that starts a full screen. It's the same crap. It just doesn't take you right to it.
Exactly.
They're not making it better. They're not. It is a placebo, and these guys are scared because they have built their entire careers and their businesses around developing games for this operating system platform, and now it is going away. And they're hedging their bets, but they haven't made a commitment yet. But I think as Microsoft continues to screw it up, which they will,
Even if
Guaranteed.
they revert back, like they'll do
done.
another bonus.
They're screwed. And these guys will continue to hedge their bets in that direction. So what we have seen this year with Steam, I think, is just the spark of a big fire, because it is getting all of these guys to retool their workflows, retool their game engines, and all this stuff for OpenGL. And it's not just Linux; it's the Mac and it's mobile platforms and all of that. But
I think they really hit the nail on the head when they're talking about going straight to hardware and actually removing this whole, getting rid of DirectX and going straight to hardware, all that sort of stuff. Because if you think about it, if they're able to pull that off and they're able to make that happen and actually make that connection, then they have something they can give to their marketing people and say, hey, by the way, this is only happening in Linux, or this is only happening on non-Microsoft platforms. Market with this, guys, because now we're going to get people to say, ooh, hey, that's nice. Because most gamers, just casual gamers, they don't game on Windows because they like Windows. They game on Windows because the performance is better, the titles are there. It's where it's where things are at. If they're able to begin to change that through hardware move, I think that's how you undermine Microsoft. I don't think it will happen on platform level. I think it will happen at hardware level.
And I think we do benefit from Android being Linux based. I've heard from several developers who say that we can sort of cut our teeth writing for Linux, and then we take that experience and move to Android. So there's some benefit that we gain there. And yeah,
kind of a test bed. Yeah.
I think it's going to be interesting times, and we keep seeing companies like Valve come out and say, "Hey, we're getting better performance under Linux." Then that could really start to change the tide.
Right.
All right, I want to talk about MailPile. That was the Indiegogo project that wanted to create a very easy-to-use webmail system that very straightforwardly implements GPG encryption. However, this week MailPile hit a roadblock from PayPal.
Shocker.
PayPal has put the MailPile funds that they raised on Indiegogo on hold, has suspended the funds. $45,000 of the 135 they raised are in limbo. So not all of the money, but 45 of the 135. A good chunk of change. Let's not kid ourselves. $45,000.
Yeah, it's a big deal. That's a big deal.
And you know what PayPal? This is, by the way, they've 4 phone calls, talked to supervisors.
Doesn't work.
MailPile must provide PayPal with a detailed budgetary breakdown of how they plan to use the donations for the crowdfunding campaign, and they will not release the block on the account for 1 year until they have shipped version 1.0 of the product.
See, and this is where I'm miffed at MailPile because of this, because this is not new.
Well,
Everyone that has ever paid any attention or ever run a campaign knows that if you use PayPal for crowdfunding, you will be fisted. It's going to happen. This isn't a new concept. You cannot expect them to not do it.
Right.
And the reason why is because they have a policy. It says no product, no funding. That's how it works. You can't crowdfund with them. And the services that implement this, the various crowdsourcing funding services that implement this, that Kickstarter and whatnot, boo on you. Come on.
That's true. And PayPal said we want a detailed budget of your development dates and for your project.
The fact that they even offer, they even say, "Hey, use PayPal." I actually point more to the Kickstarters and the people like that, Indiegogo and whatnot. All those guys that are saying use PayPal. You know better.
Well, Kickstarter uses Amazon payments.
Oh, do they?
Probably for very good reasons. Now, it's not all bad news. PayPal immediately realized the S-storm they'd stepped into and has backtracked on some of this.
So maybe it was Indiegogo then. Okay.
Let's be clear. No, Jupiter Broadcasting, every single day, PayPal automatically cancels somebody's support for us, and for no reason. Like, it just screws it up, and like people, you might want to check your PayPal if you're a supporter, because from time to time,
Check
PayPal
your
just kills it. PayPal is a horrible company. PayPal needs to die a horrible death. And I'm not just talking a little death. Like, I hope PayPal is driving down the freeway and smashes into a gas tank and blows up and burns. That's what I hope. I do not like PayPal.
Well, and the problem is the reasoning that they give you is they're erring on the side of caution because they're trying to avoid class action lawsuits.
That's such bullcrap. That's not
this is their excuse factory.
I know, yeah.
It's yes, it technically kind of could potentially be a problem, but not at the scale they're doing it. They do it because it's more pleasant for them in the long run, not for you. They're not about you as a customer.
Bitcoin.
An eBay company. Think about it.
I'm just so sick of all these guys. I'm ready for Bitcoin to just take over.
Yep.
Telling you, Matt. I'm telling you.
Decentralized.
Now, while we're talking about raising funds and potentially getting your money suspended, let's talk about another Indiegogo campaign.
Oh, yeah. But as you pointed out, Kickstarter, I guess, like I said, Amazon payments, good stuff. But hey,
we've seen some good stuff from at Indiegogo, so I'm not writing them off. But
and sometimes they do okay, although it's a big amount. Here's another tip: if any Indiegogo guys, like for instance, what's this support 080, call PayPal ahead of time.
Yeah,
that'll save you a lot of trouble.
Good point, Matt. Good point. So 080.
Yeah.
I'm not sure. I haven't watched their clip yet. I'm going to play a little bit. 080, obviously, we've talked about this game multiple times on the Linux Action. Whoa, there you go. Yeah. And they're doing a campaign to raise $160,000, 43 days left. They've raised $10,000 so far. And OpenAD, I think this was a really smart move because this game has been a slow burn for a while now. It's getting better and better with every release. And now I think they're ready to just do a big push and just make this as amazing. This has the potential to be one of the greatest games out there, and I think they're now going to be on the path to
Looks
that.
Great.
Yeah. Of course, it's available for Linux, Mac, and Windows. And they got some good, I think you got some really good perk levels here. $56, you get a nice, huge poster for 080. If you love the game, that's a great benefit.
And they got some great artwork, so it makes sense.
Yeah, they really do. They have this is a great.
You're getting value for your contribution.
Wow, look at that, a hero sponsor. It's going to be 100% free and always will be. So even after they complete their campaign, it's going to be open source code, which is awesome. And to have a game of this level of sophistication and depth, to have it be open source, this is going to be, if they reach their funding, and I truly hope they do, this is going to be a showcase game. Not just a showcase game for Linux. This is going to be a showcase game for open source games.
That's right. Here's your funding model. Here's how you can actually dedicate the time needed to make sure that the game is well supported because here's a funding model.
Yeah, I think that's one of the reasons why 0AD is a little more important than your average bear because it has such potential. It scratches that itch, and honestly, I think this is a thinking person's game.
Oh yeah, totally.
And that's big in the Linux community. But
it could also appeal to people that really just like taking a cursor and moving houses around. And I'm one of those folks, but I think that is definitely a thinking person's game.
And I think, too, we've talked a lot about how Firefox and Pigeon and LibreOffice help the Windows user move over to Linux because they can use those applications on Linux.
Yes.
This is, for those users, as we're sort of, this is a key soldier in the front on Linux, on Windows gaming. So we are now attacking Windows gaming with Steam. Here is a great open source game. We can be like, hey, look at this thing. It's open source. It's available on Linux. It's available on that Mac. It's available on the other things. Yay. I really want to see this succeed.
And like I said, finding that funding model for any open source project, because not everything slides into the enterprise box. If it's something that's compelling, like this is, and it's very compelling, I think it's going to make it. I really do.
I hope so.
And I really hope that they call PayPal.
Look at them making
Please, guys, do.
Look at them making their own original music.
Really did the nice job on the video, nice job on the game, great graphics, lots of options. I mean, it looks fantastic.
Yeah.
And a lot of attention to detail, which I appreciate.
Oh, they're not using PayPal? You can use Indiegogo and not use PayPal?
Oh, really? Okay, well, then that's awesome.
You can do credit card only, I guess.
Then that would be fantastic. Whatever they can do to protect themselves is awesome, because I want to see it succeed. So.
Do they take Bitcoin? Do they take Bitcoin? All right, so if I contribute, what are my contribution options here? So if I go down here... let's say I wanted to get myself. They're making their own music. I'll make myself a soundtrack. Yeah, they're doing. It looks like they are. It looks like they're maybe doing credit card. I have to give out all my shipping info before.
Yeah. Before they tell you.
Let's find out. Let's take a look here, Matt. Kind of curious. What they got.
There you go.
Okay, so no. Yeah, it looks like credit card. I don't know. It's not. It's not agreeing with me. It wants me to fill out a line that I don't have. See, that says it wants me to fill out address too, but I don't have it.
Yeah, that's bad Indiegogo.
Yeah, that's funny, right? Isn't that weird? Oh, here we go.
Maybe country will do it.
Yeah, there we go. Okay.
Yeah, there you go. Now it's optional.
Okay,
so that's why it was. No, first kind of like, wait, really, guys?
All right. Now we're going to find out all this to find out if they just How about they just say what their payment options are? I have to do all that? All right, so it's Visa, MasterCard, American Express, and Discover.
Good.
No,
Okay,
no
good
PayPal.
for you guys. You'll be fine.
Well, you think.
Well, the less likely to have problems than you would.
But they might also get less donations because it requires you put in your shipping address, your Visa, MasterCard, all of that. I mean, look at all this I got to give them.
Yeah.
So that's the advantage to PayPal. They just log into PayPal.
Here's a tip to people that are doing campaigns like this. On your front page, offer form tools that do autofill for you. Just saying. You know. Something that's going to make that slide easy for you. It's all about presentation.
You know, as we watch these on this show, the Indiegogo campaigns have a clear lower success rate. Like, to me,
They do.
It's
not as much incentive.
way less success on Indiegogo than on Kickstarter.
It's not as popular as Kickstarter for one. And then secondly, we bundle it in with the fact that people think, well, they're going to get money either way.
I think some of it is the way Indiegogo handles payments too. Like, that was a crappy experience.
It's pretty craptastic.
Right. Whereas with Kickstarter, they have an Amazon Payments, which anybody can do. So I don't know why Indiegogo doesn't do that. And you just click, and you're done.
Well, I think another problem is the fact that Kickstarter is essentially like the Google of the whole campaign situation.
Yeah, they own it.
And then you got a lot of other ones. And Indiegogo really, even though it's kind of like a number 2, doesn't really feel like it. It feels more like a dogpile search engine. It's just not really, it's not even DuckDuckGo or something cool. It's just like dogpile. You know?
Yeah. And like Matt just pointed out, it is a flexible funding, so they don't have to reach the whole goal.
That turns people off.
Well, yeah.
I'm not saying it should. I'm just saying that some people are little. That's not their style. Myself personally, I don't care as long as I'm getting whatever they want.
I want them to get the money.
I get the reward, and I'm contributing toward the project, then I'm good with it. But some people, depends.
So if you guys want to support the Zero AD project, we'll have a link to that in the show notes. You can
definitely
kick them.
Support that.
They got some good perk levels too, some lower ones and some higher tier ones. So.
Throw money at your screen.
Yeah. Boy, does that work?
I've tried, and I've not had a lot of success with it.
Well, we'll keep an eye on it. All right, Matt. Well, that's all the news for this week. Matt, this week Dropbox fell apart on me, and I realized it was time to kick the Dropbox habit. However, I didn't quite feel like there was any one solution that solved all of my problems. However, I knew where to look. I've been using BitTorrent Sync on and off to work with folks remotely with really large files, like 50, 60 gigs in one folder.
Oh, those are big.
Yeah. And but we've heard a ton of people write in and say, you got to try out SpiderOak. SpiderOak has this and that, encryption this and that, Linux this and that. So got to look at all these things, Chris, and I was at a loss of where to go. But then I stopped and I thought about it, and it all came to me in one evening, Matt. And with that one evening, I had solved my Dropbox habit. But before we get to that, I want to thank this segment's sponsor, System 76.
Woo!
Now, System 76, they make machines that are born to run Ubuntu.
That's right.
And they run it well. Now, you could, of course, once you make a great machine to run Ubuntu, turns out pretty much all Linux runs great on that. I've got Arch Linux on mine. I've also ran OpenSUSE on this bad mamma jamma, and I have ran just about every flavor of Ubuntu since 12.04 on it, all flawlessly. Now, they have some really great machines. We often talk about their laptops, but just last night, I wonder if System 76 just sees my IP and is like, oh, there's Chris.
Oh, I'm sure of it. He's like trolling the shopping cart again.
He's looking at the Ratel performance
He's
again.
going through the process. He's doing visualization by adding the products to a shopping cart and then deleting them, hopefully to key the universe into kicking one down.
I guess I kind of feel like I'm pulling for the underdog. This Ratel performance, I think, is the sleeper system.
I think it's understated. It's an understated box that
quiet, super powerful, Haswell chip in there, HDMI out, eSATA hookup, gigabit Ethernet, tons of USB, including USB 3.0.
Makes
Nice
a solid
case.
desktop, and it would make a hell of a media center.
Hell of a media center, hell of a desktop. I was thinking about it.
Yeah.
Actually, I thought this would actually go really good where I have this computer here, too.
Oh, yeah.
And just put it down on the floor and then a monitor up on the table.
Although I tell you, Sable Complete.
Yeah, the Sable Complete would be
Sable
really good there,
Complete would
too,
do
right?
okay, too.
Oop, well, hello.
Hello.
Whomp. The Sable Complete is, we've heard from a few folks in our audience who've bought one of these, and I think you're right. That would go really great
Just
in
a
the
real
studio
tidy,
as well.
nice all-in-one.
And you can mount it on an arm, which would be really cool.
That would be cool.
But I think
you could actually mount it, like wear a rope around your neck and carry it around.
Gangster style,
Gangster style. It'd be like the clock, but with computers.
That would look good.
Be cool.
Have you started this Ultra Pro recently?
Oh,
look at the lines on that.
You remember the
thing.
thing about the clicking and adding to cart thing? I was speaking from experience. I do that a lot. It's sad.
These System
really
76 machines all these laptops have been refreshed recently with the latest 4th generation Intel processors.
Very nice.
Look at that Ultrabook.
Gorgeous!
We've all been wanting an Ultrabook from System 76 for a long time.
Oh, people have been asking for it over and over and over.
It's here, and they did it Right. I believe it's actually even thinner than the MacBook Air.
Oh yeah, no,
And,
if I remember correctly, they actually did a comparison, and it was like just the difference was so minute. They actually did it side by side. It was you really had to think about it.
Micro SD slot, USB 3.0, HDMI out, Ethernet, DisplayPort out. I mean, this is a serious mobile rig with the Haswell chip, 14.1-inch screen, 1080p IPS display, up to 16 gigabytes of RAM, and a Core i7 processor.
Well, and I thought the way they laid out everything on the unit itself was actually better than the MacBook Air, just in the fact the way everything in the back and the front is.
Look how huge that trackpad is. That's nice.
Well, and it's a proper trackpad. I mean, it's really proper. You know, disable while typing, problem solved, boom, you're good.
I literally go through a process once a week where I think, okay, how can I do this? How can I
justify? Yeah, totally.
Yeah. And the problem is my Bonobo is so amazing,
right?
That I mean, this really satisfies everything I need.
So it's like it's like I'm totally good, but yeah, totally.
That Ultra Pro though, man, System 76. You guys go over to System76.com. Get yourself something nice, something built to run Linux. That way you don't have to hassle with that anymore. You don't have to fight that stuff anymore. It just runs fantastically. System 76 is a great company that loves Linux. Tell them the Linux Action Show sent you.
Right. Do what I do and visualize that process. Go in there for configure to buy and visualize that coming to your doorstep via UPS or FedEx.
You know what I did too is I put in, just for funsies, I put in the 956 gigabytes.
Oh, I totally. Yeah, I always like to kind of max it out. I'll go mid-level. I mean,
960.
I like to get in there and just kind of say, I could probably make that happen.
If you put a 960 gigabyte SSD in this Ultra Pro, I mean that is a laptop that's going to last you 4 or 5 years with the i7 Haswell and a huge SSD.
There's nothing that's going to happen in that time period you're ever going to need. You're just going to be happy. You're going. Oh my God.
Yeah.
I'm drooling. Sorry, I'll wipe that off my chin.
So thanks to System 76 for sponsoring this segment and making us drool at least on a weekly basis. Okay, let's start with SpiderOak.
Yes.
This has got a lot of love in our community. SpiderOak is 100%, they claim, and I've read through their docs and it seems legit, 100% private backup and sync. They have a really great pitch on their encryption. In fact, I grabbed it right here. SpiderOak uses AES 256 in CFB mode. SpiderOak uses a nested series of keyscopes, a new key for each folder, version of the file, and the individual data blocks that versions of files are compressed from. So, I mean, we're talking...
They take some steps.
That's about as good as you're going to... Now, Google claims they encrypt your data. That's bullcrap. This is encrypting your data.
Because Google just says we encrypt your data. SpiderOak actually gives you a long list of technical specifications so you can come to your own conclusion. The
number one difference, you own the keys, right? Yeah. Google owns the keys when Google encrypts your data. You have the keys that are controlled by the client. Yep. The SpiderOak encryption system looks extremely robust, and they have a lot of documentation on it.
I like the fact they don't treat you like you're stupid by just saying it's encrypted. They actually provide you with the details and the information so you can decide if that's in fact going to meet your needs. And frankly, for most people, it's going to. It's great.
Now, one thing I would have loved to have seen from SpiderOak, and the same critique can be lobbed at BitTorrent Sync, is they don't have an open source client. They have now. SpiderOak has a ton of their backend stuff open source. GPL.
They really try. Yeah, they've got a lot of good GPL stuff.
So I know you have played a lot with SpiderOak. I have it installed right here.
Well, and see, from my own SpiderOak experience, it's kind of interesting because he said, "Hey, we're going to be talking about this. You know, you should get it installed." It's like, dude, I've had this installed for months now because I use it for backup.
Yeah, you switched from Jungle Disk to this.
Oh, it's like I should have done this so long ago. It's so great because it's fast, it works. I don't have to wonder what's going to break. It just works really well.
Now, have you used the SpiderOak mobile app?
No, I have not.
So this is one of the things that I was kind of curious in this whole thing is, honestly, I use the Dropbox mobile app enough that I need that functionality. And one of the things that the Dropbox mobile app does that the SpiderOak app does not do is with Dropbox, when I take a picture with my Android phone, the Dropbox immediately grabs that photo and saves it to a folder in my Dropbox.
Sure.
And that's just really nice because then I always, since I don't sync per se my Android phone, that I always have access to those photos. And if I want to show my wife one of the photos, I just sit down, here it is in my Dropbox. The SpiderOak app does not have that, at least yet, from what I could see.
Could be happening eventually, but at this point, I don't think it does.
However, from the SpiderOak app, you can actually get to the file systems on your other computers. So
that's kind of nice.
Yeah, all of the folders I have in SpiderOak on my 2 other machines, I can actually browse that folder structure right here on it. So,
and I love how it's differentiated.
There is a way for me to go get photos and kind of manually upload photos, but it's not quite as smooth as the Dropbox process. So you got SpiderOak, you got a Windows app, a Mac app, a Linux app, you got mobile apps. When I started using SpiderOak, to me it immediately felt like a backup solution that has syncing kind of bolted on.
That's what it was from my experience.
And this is where BitTorrent Sync entered my equation, because what my primary need is, I want to sync very large files very fast over my LAN. In fact, the majority of these files never need to go on a cloud storage server. That functionality of SpiderOak and Dropbox is purely secondary. It's nice to have from a backup standpoint,
but it's not what you're aiming for.
And in fact, some cases it is a bit of a disadvantage, because even though Dropbox has LAN sync, a lot of times it still opts to sync from their cloud service. So if I, for example, on Friday, was working on BSD Now's intro, and the raw BSD Now intro, just the intro itself, is about 480 megabytes. Yeah. And I have to wait every time. So if I'm doing it on one computer and I'm editing on another computer, I have to wait for that 480 megabyte file. Now, thankfully, I have Fios, but it still takes forever to upload, and then it takes forever to download on the other computer.
Sure.
SpiderOak has LAN sync. I didn't play with it a lot, because what I recognized is, for me, and I'm curious to see your thoughts on this, is I decided to kind of go with a hybrid approach. I'm using BitTorrent Sync now as a solution to move files all over my LAN.
Right.
And I'll go into that in a little bit. I'll show you that. And then I'm using SpiderOak as sort of a server component that runs on my server, and then just is continuously taking selective BitTorrent Sync folders and saving them to the SpiderOak service.
See, for me, SpiderOak is a fantastic, I love it. It's a great backup solution. Absolutely in love with it. It works flawlessly. It's just awesome. But unfortunately, if you're looking to quickly just sync files between two locations or whatnot, when you first install SpiderOak on the fastest computer in the world, it takes a little bit.
Yeah, I was surprised by that too,
because it's got to do some indexing and whatnot. So you got some time there. But with BitTorrent Sync, it couldn't. I mean, it's stupid quick.
It's so fast.
It's like, especially if you just do the local. You're not even installing. You just run the little, it's the little command.
It's pretty much almost instantaneous.
Yeah, you just run. So from that point of view, there's that. But also the fact that I don't feel like SpiderOak shines in the syncing capacity. I feel like that it's very secondary, and I feel like that it's probably not what I would use it primarily for.
Okay.
I really wouldn't. Yeah. I would love for backup. Absolutely, would go to war even over open source, other open source options.
Okay.
Yeah, I prefer it for backup. That's just me.
What do you think about their prices, though? So I got their 300 gigabyte a year plan, which is $300 a year. So it's $100 a gigabyte, and I'm looking at that and I'm thinking, for the price of that, I could buy that cube we showed at the intro and throw a hard drive on it, and I could load BitTorrent Sync on that and put it at my mom's house. Right. And it'd be actually cheaper than 1 year of SpiderOak.
It would be. It's I'm someone that has 15 different backup schemes. I mean, like, it's ridiculous.
Yeah.
And so I would do the cube and SpiderOak. I mean, like, I would literally have. So they each play their thing, but I wouldn't necessarily put it all on the cube. I probably would be more inclined with SpiderOak, and then maybe the cube is a secondary or something.
I guess
like that.
I feel like I'm willing to pay $100 for every 100 megabytes.
Sure.
Or every 100 gigabytes.
Yeah.
So $100, 100 gigabytes. That's not horrible.
No, it's higher than higher than what I paid with Jungle Disk by far. But I felt that it was worth it because I could depend on the damn client to work.
And the privacy aspect too is kind of a premium these days.
Yeah,
I think.
I like their approach to privacy. It definitely is. It meets with my requirements.
And Linux support's also worth a little bit of a premium in my mind, and they obviously have first class Linux support.
And it's consistent. The Jungle Disk client, I don't think has been updated in a million years. At least I've had problems with it.
So looking at SpiderOak, one of the things that they have that I think is really cool is they have this system called share rooms, where you can throw in a bunch of stuff into a share room, and then you can post these share rooms. People can go to the SpiderOak site and just grab them. Yep. The other thing, and I have a little example code right here, is you can actually embed these share rooms into a web page. You see, like they include,
and that's one of those little niceties I think SpiderOak really pays attention to.
Like I thought, for example, take the Unfilter show, right? The Unfilter show will have tons of clips per episode. Wouldn't it be cool if I had all of those in a SpiderOak share room, and I could actually embed that share room into the show notes of every Unfiltered episode, and people could go look at all of the clips?
Exactly.
I mean, that's really powerful stuff.
It's very powerful.
And so I think if you have one of two use case scenarios, backup is the most important thing to you.
Offsite backup. Not buying a big old hard drive and then hoping to God it,
And I think if you really want to be serious, you got to go offsite. I mean, let's be honest, disasters happen.
On-site backup is secondary at best.
And sharing is also a huge advantage that SpiderOak has over BitTorrent Sync. Now, BitTorrent Sync, you can share codes, but being able to share out a single file and giving a URL to somebody, that's still very tricky.
It's very Dropbox-like.
Way easier in SpiderOak. Way easier. However, all of that said, if you just want to move, if you essentially want to have a network file system, that's what I want.
Okay.
I want a network file system that is OS and device agnostic. I want to run a client on this Hackintosh, the same thing I'm running on my Bonobo right here. So here's what I've done.
Okay.
Is my hybrid approach is as follows. So if we take a look here at, let's go to my file server here on my machine, and if we look at my NFS mount, I have this BitTorrent Sync folder in here, right?
Yeah.
And in this BitTorrent Sync folder, I have JB Archive and JB Production. Now these can be shared out at that level. But then I go in here and I have LAS, Unfilter, Unplugged, and I'm just adding, I'm kind of moving everything over. These are also shared out at the folder level. So on my editing machine, I can have the entire JB Production folder. On my laptop, where I have an SSD with limited storage, I can subscribe to just the shows I'm producing on this laptop. And the way that works is if I fire up on Linux, the main way to configure your BitTorrent sync program is through a web UI, but it's pretty straightforward to use. It's not too bad. And here is my Bonobo's BitTorrent sync. You can see I have Unfiltered, LAS, and Unplugged. Okay, these are only syncing between my laptop, my editing station, and my server. Right. I have an Ubuntu 1210 box sitting in front of my FreeNAS box. And all of these sync to that. Now, if we go over and look at my FreeNAS box, you see a bit of a different picture, because one of the things I've been able to do here is say, since I'm breaking all these folders out, I'm able to say on these machines, put these folders, on these machines, put these other folders. So here on the actual server, you can say I'm actually sharing out quite a bit more folders than I'm subscribed to, right? And all of these, like here's the entire video archive of the Linux Action Show, 80 gigabytes, the entire video archive of TechSnap, 76 gigabytes. And I could subscribe to those on my laptop, but I don't need that 80 gigabytes filling up my hard drive.
Right. Why do that to yourself?
Right. Now, this is all local, just on my network. None of this is on a cloud server. That's where SpiderOak comes in. So I can use SpiderOak to send selectively folders off to the SpiderOak service. Right. So if I look...
So you can pick and choose what you really want. Yeah.
Yeah, I'll go to... is it Stream? Is Streamer the program that lets you connect to a machine on Splashtop?
Streamer's your server.
Oh, yeah. Well, I launched the wrong one then. All right, so on my server, I'm using the handy Splashtop program.
Splashtop Personal will be your client. Yeah.
Splashtop Personal. I'm grabbing... I decided... Okay, so the one thing about SpiderOak, you kind of need the GUI to set it up. You don't... There's like... They have a workaround on their website. Right. But it really
needs the GUI, and it takes... Like I said, it's a commitment. You're going to spend some time, especially if you got... And I was on the day... I had a lot of data, for it to index. And it took some time, and that was a fast machine.
So what I did is I did X11 forwarding. I installed SpiderOak, and then I did X11 forwarding, and then set it up that way. But then later on, I was like, well, geez, why don't I just use Splashtop?
Right.
So that's what I'll show you my... so we'll go... we'll remote into my 1210 server that actually has a GUI running on it right now for this purposes. And here is my SpiderOak instance running on that server. In fact, I meant to pause it before we started the show just so it wasn't taking up a bunch of bandwidth. But
it does a pretty good job at throttling that, though.
Yeah, as you can see right now, it's 54% complete on backing up my directory. And if I go into this backup tab here, I can see I've drilled down into my NFS mount, and I'm backing up certain folders. Now, with Dropbox, you're limited to that Dropbox folder, but with both SpiderOak and BitTorrent Sync, it can be anywhere on your file system.
That's a big plus. Yes, big
so
plus.
On SpiderOak,
otherwise, you're symlinking and whatnot.
Oh, yeah. So with SpiderOak, on my front-end box, I've gone in and said back up these folders. Now, these folders are shared out via BitTorrent Sync. Right. And the cool thing about doing this is...
Oh, I see where you're going.
If push came to shove, I could go into SpiderOak and link to one of those files. Like, I still have that linking and sharing capability, even though I'm only really using SpiderOak for its backup functionality.
Exactly. And see, that's where it shines. Yeah.
Yeah.
And I completely agree with this approach. This makes sense to me.
And I go in here and I look at my queue and I can see, okay, right now...
Another great feature.
It's I can see right now it's working on music files. I can see that it's currently backing up ZZ Top.
Nice. That's important.
Yeah, of course.
Good stuff.
Good thing that I have that running while we're doing a live stream on the internet. Got to make sure I'm getting that backed up while we're doing a show. So you can go in here, and then you could also set up.
Now,
your
one consideration with SpiderOak is when let's say, like you're getting ready to do a show, and you've got a whole bunch of backup going on, your queue is filled up or whatever. You can, in fact, pause or stop the sync, but it doesn't happen instantly. Usually, it takes a little bit to kind of tear out.
Yeah, it's got like if I look right now, it's got 1, 2, 3. It's got like 5 or 6 upload. Look at those 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 upload threads going.
That's right.
That's
or
awesome.
if you delete a file that's already in queue, it's got to cycle through all that. So there's some considerations there, but I think as a backup tool, it's really fantastic.
So what I'm loving is so the way I have it now is BitTorrent Sync does all of the heavy lifting around my LAN. However, because BitTorrent Sync's P2P nature, if you and I were working, so when I look, when we're looking here, you can see I've got, like for example, eventually I'm going to take this LAS this LAS archive and I'm going to make it available to the general internet. I'm going to say. go grab this and sync it up and help us back this up. And like later on, like if you and I are working on a special episode, I could extend the last folders to you. You could work on them. They would sync to all my machines, backed up by SpiderOak, and then when we're done, you remove them. In the past, I had everything under a root Jupyter Broadcasting folder, which was like 300 and something gigabytes. You have to just download all of it.
Yeah,
it was crazy. So and last but not least, the other thing that is really fantastic about BitTorrent Sync is it is crazy easy to link the mobile client to shared BitTorrent Sync folders. So the one way this works, it makes it crazy easy for mobile clients, is the BitTorrent Sync application will give you a QR code. You can scan that QR code with the BitTorrent Sync application, and then it just automatically sets up the pair on your phone.
That's great. Because how annoying would it be to try and type in a key that's like, I don't know, 16 characters long, lowercase, uppercase, numbers, I mean, this is so much faster.
You don't even have to log into a service. So, I mean, like in SpiderOak, you got to log in with your account. You got to make sure you've activated through the desktop software. With BitTorrent Sync, there's no account. No. There's no services you have to have. There's no logging in. It's all based on that secret key or a QR code. Now, the other thing the BitTorrent Sync client does on mobile, which I really like from the Dropbox, is it will automatically back up every photo you take to a BitTorrent Sync share. So now as I'm snapping photos with my HTC One, in the background, BitTorrent Sync, and I have a little notification here in my, it says BitTorrent Sync is running. So I know that in the background it's slurping up my pictures and it's saving them to my file server, and then that is backing it up via SpiderOak.
Exactly. And see, that's the perfect, that's exactly how I use it. It's the perfect situation.
I have essentially unlimited photo storage because with Dropbox, you get like 5 gigs for photos. But the limits here are as big as my server hard drives, which thanks to you guys and the Drives for Jupyter program, there's tons of storage there. So I can sit here and snap pictures. It'll save them to that. Then I know SpiderOak is backing up. So I feel like I'm using SpiderOak, what it's best suited for.
And you're able to be selective as to what it's backing up.
Yeah.
You're not having to just default back up everything. I mean, you can really pick and choose.
And I'm comfortable with SpiderOak's encryption and level of detail. They call it a zero knowledge data storage, and they talk a lot about that. So I'm pretty comfortable there. I'd love to see their client be open source. That'd really give me the And
I think it could happen. I think it's just right now they're working within certain constraints. But overall, I really appreciate the fact they don't treat us like we're stupid. They explain at a technical level exactly what the benefit is, and I really appreciate that.
The BitTorrent Sync blog has a category called BitTorrent Sync hacks.
Nice.
Sync hacks, I think they call them. And
when it comes to syncing, I think they got it nailed. I really do.
Yeah, I like this, and I like they have a guide here for backing up your iOS photos. And then here's one. This is kind of along the lines you and I were talking about. How to sync your data using BitTorrent Sync and Raspberry Pi. And then you use this sort of like an offsite backup system. And I look at this, and right now I'm using SpiderOak, but honestly, the way I have this set up, I can pull out the back-end offsite storage and replace it with anything. Like if one day I decide Jungle Disk is like revolutionized.
Someone bought, Rackspace sells it and they did something cool with it, right?
I don't have to redo all. Like right now, it is a 2-week project to move all of. I mean, we're talking a dozen computers that are using Dropbox, and they have all of their programs, all of their paths are set to Dropbox. I have to go through and peel all that away. Now with the BitTorrent Sync solution, I can leave that in place, and I just now have modularized the backup. So I can plug and play my backup solution. So maybe in the future, I'll take that Cubox I got. I'll plug in an eSATA hard drive that's mirrored, ship it to Mom, and say, Mom, plug this into your internet connection. We'll sync each other's backup files. For the price of 1 year of SpiderOak, I could buy all of that gear and do it for free, encrypted and privately.
And that makes sense in particular instances like that. But I think in a situation with the studio or whatnot, I think having the offsite backup is more. But like you said, with
I like having offsite.
Yeah, with family, no, I think it makes total sense with BitSync. So here's the $10,000 question. Well, why are you doing all the SpiderOak stuff? Why not just do something with a really big hard drive and send it to someone else's house or whatever? That's adorable, but that's not really backing up.
How do you know they're going to leave it on?
Yeah, I mean, it's just like Crash Plan can do that stuff like that, and that's great. That's a cool feature, but
that's kind of what I came down to. Is like, what if Mom turns it off for half a week or something, and all of a sudden that's the week I lose something?
For people that have 4 tiers of backup like myself or more, there's data that I cannot under any circumstances. I don't care if we end up in pissing Russia off to the point where they drop nukes on something. I need to know, and a data center goes. I still need that data to be safe. It's that important. So yeah, the hard drive solution. It's maybe a plan C. It's kind of an immediate fallback, but it's a toy. It's not a solution.
So SpiderOak is popular with the OpenSUSE community because they started over there. There's a special deal. So look, in the show notes, I've got links for more information, including how to set up SpiderOak on a headless Linux server. It can be done.
Works well with Arch, too.
I would recommend when you're setting up SpiderOak on a headless server, just SSH in and turn on X11 forwarding. So SSH to your server, --X, and log in and do X11 forwarding, because then you can launch the SpiderOak client and it'll run on your remote machine. So you don't have to have, you don't have to have Unity running like I do on my machine.
Right.
Or Splashtop. We've covered that in the past.
Yep.
We also have a link to all of the components of SpiderOak that are open source, which are quite a bit. They say they're steadily releasing many of the tools and libraries that were created while building SpiderOak as independent, generalized components. All of those can be found up on GitHub. I got a link to that in the show notes.
And I feel like there's really good effort there. I'm really proud of those guys for that.
And BitTorrent Sync has some work to do on this front. The reason why I'm a little more comfortable with BitTorrent Sync, even though it's not open, is because I'm never touching their servers. I'm never communicating with their cloud storage. So there's a certain level that because it's all staying on my LAN, or at worst case directly with somebody that I give the key to. Exactly. My security requirements are a little bit different in that scenario. Where when I'm syncing to a remote storage solution, writing to their database, then we got to be a lot more serious about that.
And that's the important differential to really take into account. It's not all solutions are perfect for every situation.
I feel like because BitTorrent Sync runs in the background as a daemon that you connect to through the web interface, and because you can do anything on your file system and then access it on your mobile device, sync it to any device, it really does feel like a network-wide file system. It feels more than a shared folder, more than a Dropbox. It is these components, these directories are all the same across all of my machines, and they're all instantly updated.
Consistent. I believe it does versioning. You know, all the stuff we want.
They talk about in here too, in that Sync Hacks blog that I have linked in our show notes. They talk about syncing your Linux config files using BitTorrent Sync. That might be worth something to play with.
Oh yeah.
The performance for me is great. I have now used it to move really small files, and I have used it to move hundreds of gigabytes.
I ran BitTorrent Sync on some of the slow. My little Atom netbook. It didn't even care.
Oh, really?
Yeah,
Good.
it did not. I mean, it's like that. That was kind of like, whoa, okay, that's cool.
Now, I should mention in Linux Unplugged, we talked with Rami, and he came up with a completely open source solution using IncFS and GitHub to sync your files between machines. Great solution. We chatted with him in Unplugged. That's another direction you could go.
You know, and just had an idea of a possibility. So I have the netbook, and it can technically run SpiderOak, but it's a lot of resource to run. BitSync,
hang a hard drive off that.
Yeah, or even better yet, if I'm, you can do that, or I can even do it to where it basically, do the BitSync torrent, whatever you want to call it. Basically back and forth from one computer to the other, but it does it to the computer that can then have another dedicated folder that I have SpiderOak on that can handle it. That could be kind that I might actually look into that. I can spit it out.
Now here is a hardware-based solution. I'm wondering if you've heard of. Have you heard of the transporter?
It's very Star Trek of them.
It
looks cool.
It
looks like a vacuum cleaner head.
I believe it is made by the folks who make the Drobo. And it is essentially a hardware Dropbox. It integrates in with the OS. It is a sync folder. The idea is that it can either sync all the machines on your LAN, and if you buy another transporter and put it at somebody's house, you can then sync between transporters if your friend has a transporter.
Kind of like a hardware crash plan.
Or a hardware Dropbox crash plan.
Right, sure.
Because it also has like shared libraries, and you can link to folders and files and stuff like that. So this might be like a more low-tech solution where you have somebody who doesn't want to be, I'm calling it the surveillance grid. Somebody who doesn't want to be a member of the surveillance grid.
But at the same time, they don't want to do it, DIY it themselves.
Right, exactly. They need something that's plug and play and easy, integrates with their Mac or Windows. And that would look like its transporter. And it's from Connected Data at filetransporter.com. Although I read somewhere that the Drobo folks are behind it, which would actually give me some confidence.
Makes sense, yeah. They did a pretty good job.
Yeah. But there you go. So the final solution, I realized what it was for me. The big hang-up on getting rid of Dropbox was some of the functionality I was losing, like the photo sync, because that's become really handy, especially when you have multiple devices. If you have like a tablet and a phone that you sometimes take pictures with, you can point them both at the same folder, so all of your different devices save their pictures to the same place. I wanted that. BitTorrent Sync provides that. And I wanted super fast LAN sync. And I realized, but then I also wanted some stuff offsite.
Right.
But because my files are so large,
you really needed to be able to pick and choose.
I've already maxed out the 300 gigabyte plan.
Right.
So I needed to say, I don't need this backed up. I don't need this. Because a lot of this stuff all just gets published on the internet anyways.
Well, and what's awesome is I think that one of the nice things about having the limited storage is that it does really keep you from backing up crap.
Yeah.
I mean, it really makes you stop and think, okay, these things are important to me. This is really
and
whatever.
Also, the other thing I found that Dropbox was letting me get kind of sloppy with was selective sync. Selective sync would let me just pretend like stuff didn't exist.
Right.
And then I would just fill my Dropbox up and be like, where's all the space going? But with BitTorrent Sync now, I'm selectively syncing manually individual folders, but it's actually a superior solution, and I'm selectively backing up certain things.
Exactly.
And I just have to acknowledge that I need to be a good steward of that. Like if I add a new important folder, I need to go add it to my backup. It's not going to automatically be backed up offsite.
Well, I think it forces us to take greater responsibility for our backing up, our desktop experience. You know.
So you got a lot of different options there. I've also linked in the show notes to this, like I mentioned a little bit earlier ago, this Pi article. They talk about hooking up BitTorrent Sync on the Raspberry Pi. That, to me, if you've got a Raspberry Pi sitting around,
dynamite.
You got a USB hard drive, you know, and honestly, think about it, you don't need it to be crazy fast if you're just using it for backup. And you can go buy USB hard drive enclosures that are pre-mirrored, so it's got a little RAID action going in the box. And
I have a BitTorrent Sync tip for you. Don't read the instructions when you're tired. Because I try, because that's like the simplest thing in the universe, and I'm trolling myself on this because it was so stupid. For the life of me, I couldn't figure out how to sync the folders. Right? Initially, it's like, this is so dumb. I'm almost ashamed to admit it. It didn't really occur to me that I gotta use the same key. Duh, you know.
Oh yeah.
So that's a little bit of a tip there.
Well, it's a little odd,
but their instructions don't really.
Yeah,
honestly, they don't tell you that.
And because they call it the secret key, you almost think like you wouldn't want to give that out. Like, here's my secret.
Well, I kept looking for the, here's at the box. It says enter key from other folder or something. And again, my brain was tired. I wasn't processing clearly. But it didn't occur to me. Oh, I just drop it in, and there it is. Bob's your uncle.
What's neat is you can actually do full-fledged. Like, I have a folder on my SD card. This is straight up syncing with my server.
Nice.
Anything that I put on my server syncs to the SD card.
Good
and
stuff.
All that. Yeah. So I feel like it doesn't have to be one or the other. It can be both.
I would say both are really great.
And if I was gonna just pick one, and you want a good security backup, and you wanted to share files, it'd probably be SpiderOak.
That's gonna have to be, yeah. Because that's going in with the understanding that I want offsite. I want to know how they're handling security, and did I mention offsite? You know what I mean? That's kind of my and not in my mom's basement or something.
So their sync process is called Hive, and that's kind of new.
I'm liking it. And it does pretty well on my network. Really.
And I think they got a good Linux client, they got a good Windows client, and a good Mac client from what I've seen. But for me, going forward, I'm going to primarily work with BitTorrent Sync, and I think what you guys will see in the next few weeks when I'm kind of ready and I'm done loading my file server up with junk, I'm going to hand out the BitTorrent Sync keys for all of our shows.
That'll be awesome.
Starting with Last and TechSnap to help anybody that wants the full collection.
It's like, let's say the patent trolls have their way with podcasting. Here's Plan B.
Well, there is a little bit of that. So there is...
you can subscribe.
There is a patent troll out there who's suing podcasting networks because of the media enclosure tag in RSS.
Exactly.
And
as much as I hate to say it, this is, especially for our audience, painfully duplicatable.
Yeah.
It really is not
hard.
And
from a publishing standpoint, what it takes for me to publish a file to a BitTorrent Sync is I move the folder from the encoded folder into the final folder, and it's published.
So it would be interesting to just put it out there as an option,
and
say, look, you're tired of podcast catchers and all this crap. Just
it shows up in your folder.
You just don't care.
And because
sync a phone or whatever, it shows up in your folder.
You wouldn't want to use, because like our last archive is 80 gigabytes.
Right,
you wouldn't want to put that on your phone. But if we had a clever way of doing like just the most current last
key,
3
separate
episodes,
folder.
maybe
separate key, separate
my
folder.
File
the mobile version.
My file structure isn't really set up for that. I was kind of doing it for archive purposes.
Sure.
But it would be cool. Like
but we could do that.
If it was just like the last 3 episodes of the mobile video, you had them automatically synced to the SD card on your Android device.
Wouldn't be that hard.
It's easier than using something like Pocket Cast.
It wouldn't be that bad. I mean, I think as long as you keep your numbers low.
There's like I don't know if anybody in the chat room has a link, but there's a BitTorrent Sync shared keys site, and one of the first, one of the most, I can't remember where it's. Awesome. It's one of the more popular BitTorrent secrets that's being shared is Linux ISOs. So people are just maintaining. There's also, go figure, a BT Secrets subreddit. Right. Not super active, but there is a subreddit where people are sharing like ROMs and 12char. That's what it was. 12char.com is I think it's up. Where is it? 12char.com. Let's try going to. Hopefully I can go there before the.
You've heard of 4chan? Try 12char.
12char.com is a list of
that's
BitTorrent
cool.
Sync Share. So like here's 1080p move. Let's get that.
And I like how it's laid out.
Let's go grab that one real quick.
What is that now? Oh, hey,
Nothing,
hello.
Matt. Nothing.
So he's going to be going and grabbing some really great ISOs of Linux, and it's going to be awesome.
But they're My Little Pony. Here you go.
Hook me up.
Here's a Linux Device Driver 3rd edition book. I don't know if that's legit. I mean, so of course, just like
3D,
regular.
oh wow, okay.
Yeah, I mean, there's a lot.
Some 3D plans there.
Just like regular BitTorrent, it can be used for good and evil. And one of the goods is Linux ISOs. There's people who are just like, it's the latest top distros ISOs in this folder. Yeah. You grab this folder, you get them all the time. That's right. Apparently, this is 1080p movies, and you just get those all the time.
And when you want to get My Little Pony, this is where you go.
That's where you go. So that's 12char, 12care, 12chr.com. Gives you an idea, but you could, we could submit like the Linux Action Show archive.
This is what I'm saying, is that this begins to become the, it really, I stand by my statement that out of all the alternatives to podcasting, as far as a distribution method, this is probably the least painful way to.
Yeah.
This
and
really
not just for the user, for me too, because like for me right now, I got to upload to the CDN, I got to build all these links on the website.
And you kept it simple. You got 3 large, 3 mobile.
Yeah.
Separate directories, not too shabby, not too scary.
Yeah. So BitTorrent Sync has an interesting feature, and SpiderOak does too. I like them both quite a bit. I don't think you're going to go wrong either way.
No, I don't think so. Good stuff.
All right, Matt, that's a Linux Action Show's look at BitTorrent Sync and SpiderOak. And that brings us to the end of this week's broadcast. But Matt, before we go, I want to make a special note that next week we will not be live on Sunday. We will be live on Friday.
That's right.
Yeah, Friday, Lucky Friday the 13th.
Ooh.
Just realized that.
Wow,
That's cool,
well,
right?
okay.
Am I looking at this right?
Yeah,
that
sounds right. Yeah, it's the 13th.
Yeah, because today is the 8th. So
right.
Linux Action will still be released for download Sunday morning.
Yep.
If everything goes schmoove, it'll hopefully be available by the time we're normally live.
That's right. And gives you a Sunday off.
Yeah,
kind of cool.
Yeah, I'll have the Sunday off. It's really great. So join us Friday at 10 a.m. over at jblive.tv.
Friday, 10 a.m. Pacific Standard Time.
All right, so this first email comes in from Matt. Take a look at that name.
Let's see. What is that? That is... Well, clearly that's the... I can't pronounce it because I'm going to just butcher it.
No, I wonder if sometimes people do this. Like, do you think that's really his name?
Yes, I do.
I'm going to give it a shot.
Yeah.
Vishwai.
Yeah,
just call
him Vish.
Vishwai. Yeah. So Vish writes in, "Hey, Chris and Matt, I watch your show every week. Unplugged is a great start. I'm loving it so far. Recently, with all the concerns about protecting your privacy, and I've got nothing criminal going on, but I've been thinking, I don't want the NSA knowing my every personal thing. And I also take he's out of the country. So me and my girlfriend use Skype every day. Hello. So is there any software or system that can be used with OpenVPN or a VPN-like solution to make video calls? I want to roll out my own system. No authenticating via provider servers. I want to do everything inside the VPN so that no traffic goes through the USA. Or at least it's going through a VPN because I don't live in the USA, and we know USA monitors all our traffic. Hope you have a good answer to this question. I'm a huge FOSS and Linux fan. You guys rock.
First step is don't use Skype.
Yeah.
That would be, because that's just, I mean, at that point, it's actually, it would be slower to, it would actually, you might as well just call the NSA at that point.
And all you'll do if you're using Skype is the Skype signal will go through the VPN, and then when it reaches the other end, it'll just connect to the Skype service.
It pops right out. It totally defeats the purpose.
Yeah. So what you really need is, you need a video chat system you can run yourself.
Yep.
I think what you should do is, what I have done is I've used a combination of my own XMPP server, and we did an episode on that a couple weeks ago. You can go find out. And then remember, I used that chat program that you pointed me in the direction of Jitsi. And Jitsi has
good stuff, open source.
Yep, and once you have XM, in fact, Jitsi has built-in end-to-end encryption for video calls. It'll even tell you at the bottom that you're on a secure line.
Because something like Mumble's only audio, if I'm not mistaken.
Right.
So that totally doesn't help.
Right. Jitsi will. So you get on. Basically, you and your girl chatting over XMPP. Right. Hey, girl, got your pants on? And so you send each other an instant message. And then once you've done that, Jitsi just has an option to initiate a point-to-point video call. Since both sides are running Jitsi.
And it'll tell you.
Multi-platform. Yeah. So you don't got a problem there if she's not enlightened like you are. And you just set up the video call. You don't even need the VPN because you could use SSL on your chat server, and you could use encrypted video chat. But if you did want to use VPN, what you would do is you would set up that XMPP server at your house, and then probably have your girlfriend, or do vice versa and set it up at her house, but have your girlfriend VPN into your place, and then do it that way.
Yeah.
You don't even need to.
A VPN just sounds like overkill. I like the
Really
Jitsi solution.
And VPN's probably going to hurt on video performance where you need every single bit to arrive on time.
And not all VPNs are created equal. Unless you're rolling your own and you have control of it, it can get a little funky. There are some good VPNs out there for other things, but not for video calling.
So this is essentially a problem I solved a few weeks ago when I decided I wanted to have private chat too.
Sure.
So and I am still using it to this day, and the XMPP service is great. In fact, I rebooted the server that runs on for the first time since that episode, and all of my devices were like, hey, I lost connection. They'd all been connected from that episode. My phone, both my desktops were all like, hey, where's their server? It's been running great. I really like it. And then later on, you can branch out if you want. All right, Steve writes in. He says, "Hi, Chris and Matt. I've been having problems lately with using a file browser and Samba shares. I'm referring to Linux only. So it's a Linux client and a Linux Samba server. He says when you click on a Samba share, it mounts wherever as a GVS, wherever GVS mounts at, which is tucked away in your home directory. And then you browse the shares normally. So he's probably using Nautilus. He connects on a share. Nautilus does a background GVS mount. However, when attempting to copy files in any capacity, such as rsync from the mounted GVS command line, on the command line or from the GUI, performance is horrible. Yes, on a wired gigabit network, I'm getting 2 to 3 megabytes a second. However, if I use CIFS to mount that share via the command line, like mount-t CFS, I can see 60 megabytes a second on the same exact share. Additionally, Windows clients do not see this poor Samba performance from Windows Explorer. He said, I've tried it on the following distros and servers, Mint 13, CentOS 6.4, and for front-end clients, he's tried it on Ubuntu 12.04, Mint 13, Mint 15, Arch, CentOS 6. All exhibit this, all 64-bit machines, no matter what server they connect to, same exact problem. Initially, I thought it was because I tied Samba into my LDAP domain. However, I've made 5 attempts with clients that are not part of the domain using default Samba configs with no authentication problem, with no backend authentication, same problem.
So I'm going to probably get some grief for this, so I will with most things. But I would say that when it comes to Samba, Samba as a rule sucks pretty hard. I don't like it. I think it blows. I think it served a purpose for a time, but I think it's kind of being
so
dated.
Harsh.
Now it's great, for servers and stuff, or for printers and stuff, it's fine. But I think for file sharing, it kind of blows.
That hurts.
That's just me. I'm not. Your mileage may vary. You may have a great network at support. I personally, I'm tired of.
It could be a challenge.
Every other distro. Oh, look what I broke. Oh, look, it's broken. Oh, it's not working. I'm done. BitTorrent Sync, done. Don't care.
All right. Yeah. BitTorrent Sync does make
I mean, if you're only trying to get files to move back and forth or whatnot.
Now, he sent in his smb.conf. And I've rolled a lot of Samba servers in my day. And I looked through his smb.conf file here, and I don't know if any of you guys watching the video version, maybe you can spot something. Other than his LDAP tie-in, nothing looked that weird to me.
Oh, wow.
But I can tell you from my own personal experience, while the GVS, it's a user space thing, it's a GNOME, it is an application-based mount. I have not had that low of performance. And
yeah, and that's exactly another thing is, again, BitTorrent Sync. It just performs well. And
however, because of Dolphin, I have switched to always mounting from the command line. So I'm going to toss this out to the audience if anybody has any recommendations. I don't know what would cause. So when he mounts through Nautilus or Thunar, he gets 2 to 3 megabytes a second. If he mounts on the command line, mounting to like his /.
And I've experienced this myself. I understand.
Really?
That's when I discovered BitTorrent. I was like, why am I being a purist idiot about this? Why don't I just use something that doesn't suck? 2 folders or whatever I need to do, however I need to do it. Just do it that way. It's just easier. Why beat a dead horse? Unless you absolutely have to have Samba.
Chat room's got a few different recommendations. Somebody says you should do an strace-p on that file manager and grep the output and see if you can get anything. Maybe doing a little Wireshark wouldn't be a horrible idea. See if you get some sort of errors kicking back. One thing I noticed, and I don't really, I'm a little out of practice, is I noticed he commented out the TCP/IP tuning options.
Oh, that's
interesting.
Not really sure what his motivation would be.
Yeah, I mean, I know most people have those on, but of course, a lot of times I'm dealing with Windows clients who are connected to the Linux server, and it's a little more important there.
And it may not be. Yeah, and I'm not super fluent with Samba configs. I can work with them, but it usually involves a lot of swearing and fist shaking. So yeah.
All right. Well, we'll see if the audience has any recommendations. We'll have a thread in the subreddit for this week's episode, and if you just want to leave a comment in there, that'd be really helpful.
Yep.
Olio writes in and says, Hey, about natural selection. Remember I'd mentioned natural selection last week, but it crashed on us during the demo. He says lots of stuff has changed under the hood. You can now select between your different graphics options like DirectX or OpenGL. Wow. New graphics library options are in there too, and they still have some random crashes on Linux, but it's getting a lot better. There was a tweet from one of the developers that said, "We anticipate it'll take us a week or so to catch all major Linux crashes, but we are on the case."
Well, that's cool.
Yeah.
Right
Natural Selection 2, top-tier game, came out in Steam, was on sale last week. It is already the game, though. I talked about I had an emergency client thing I had to go in for on Tuesday,
Sure.
and I talked about it in Unplugged. And while I was there, Steam came up. People are like, hey, what game should I check out on Steam?
Right.
Hey, how's Steam doing on Linux? Everybody, there's a group of guys that work at this client that are all into games. And I'm telling all these guys, go check out Natural Selection 2. Right. It's that type of game where it's like, oh, this is a game you got to play. It does this. You can be an alien. You can be a marine. It's got RTS functionality. It's got overhead. It's got first person. It's amazing. It's
man.
Natural Selection 2. Stick with it, guys. If you buy it and you're a little upset that it's crashy, let's give them time to work this one out because
it's worth
great
it.
Game.
It really is.
Great game.
Yeah.
Martin writes in. He says, hello, Chris and Matt. Big show. Really like what you guys are doing. Really looking forward to the Build Your Own Mail episode coming up. And I count the days until it's monkey suit time.
Oh, yeah.
Ouch.
It's going to happen sooner than you might think, actually.
Now, here's why he's writing, Matt. He has created a new application for KDE called Movie Thumbs. Ooh. He's the author of it, and Movie Thumbs is a thumbnailer that fetches a movie or series of posters from the internet. He said he had a GNOME friend who kept bugging him because he recently ported Thumbnailer to Nautilus. So Movie Thumbs is available for Nautilus as well now. But
cool.
Let's take a little look at it. So I think what you do here, now, I got to say, not in the Arch user repo. So I couldn't install it before the show.
But perhaps after watching this episode, that can happen. That can happen.
But you get the idea here. You point at a directory, goes out there, does the scanning, gets all of the thumbnails for you, and then if you could toss those in your movie directories as folder.jpegs, and then XBMC will display those posters, and a lot of other applications will display those posters when you browse the folder.
You know what would be really cool? Is the folks you were talking about, they're saying, hey, what game should I get for Steam? Imagine doing the same posters for Steam games with a link to get the game in BitTorrent Sync. Same.
Are you talking about theft? Are you talking about
No. I'm talking about like legally going and actually buying, actually like checking out the game's videos. Like alerting them to that it exists. I would not advocate theft.
I think there's a lot of options for software distribution using BitTorrent Sync.
Yeah.
I think there really is.
No, I meant legitimate stuff. I don't mean do anything shady with it. I mean like literally saying, hey, you've never heard of this game before. Here's the album art. Here's where you can go buy it.
Yeah.
That's all.
So Martin, great work on that. And
I like the idea,
if you get in the AUR, let us know. Dijon writes in, and he says, hi, guys. I'm developing an application as an amateur programmer, and I think it might be worth your time. I just released a few versions, and people seem to like it. I think you might like it, too. It's written in C++, and I'm using Qt. It's an open-source project, and it's called Great Little Radio.
I like the name.
Yeah, let's go take a look at Great Little Radio Player. So it is a front end to internet streaming. And it's got it gives you a good big dashboard here.
Oh, dude.
You got your categories on the left-hand side. Then you got, this guy is obviously into his internet radio stream. I hope he's got JBLive.fm in there, man.
Yeah, right.
And,
I'm sure he does.
It's like, we talked about that, like, was it like free TV or something? And it's kind of like this, only for radio streams. And look who he's got in the background there. LCars. Yeah. He's got an LCars. I want to know what LCars widget that is. He's got a couple of LCars KDE Plasma widgets.
That's really cool.
That's what he should have written in about.
No kidding.
But so we'll have a link to this in the show notes. If you're a big internet radio streamer, it's called the Great Little Radio Player. And it's available for Linux. It just hit version 1.4 out there for OpenSUSE, Arch, PC Linux OS, Shakaraka, Mint, Ubuntu, etc.
Good stuff.
So this must be, then he must have it in the, maybe he has it in the AUR. Let's go take a look. He does.
Oh, sweet.
Yeah. Maybe I'll take a look at that. Cool. I'm going to give that an install. And it's
nice.
GPL.
Good stuff.
So some good stuff, Matt. We got some good stuff. Well, speaking by the way, we have a BitMessage address, too, in the show notes. If you want to send in your feedback via BitMessage, you can do that. Speaking of the monkey suit, Matt, things just got a little bit easier for folks out there now. If I'm correct.
Oh, yeah.
I don't know. You're turning the big 4-0 soon, or have you already turned 4-0?
No, I turn here later this month. I am actually turning 40.
Wow.
So it's a big.
How do you feel about that?
I've literally all month long I've been experiencing like
waves of like.
It's like wow. In 10 years I'm 50. And of course I've told people that are 50 and up about this, and they just look at me like But, but for me it's it's a really big deal because it seemed like I was 20 just a few days ago.
Is it bigger than when you were turning 30?
Oh yeah. Oh god, it sucks.
Yeah.
It sucks. it's like I'm college girls are calling me sir, which just ow. I mean really? Come on. I mean women in their 20s are calling me sir.
Well, I know.
I
Well,
think that's when it really hit me.
if you'd like to help Matt celebrate, we do have a birthday wish list for Matt, linked in the show notes. And I noticed on that wish list you put the monkey suit.
I did, and I even added the link to the subreddit in the comments to explain the context. Yeah, why you care,
Oh yeah,
why
I see
you
that
would
right
do
there
it.
on the side there.
A couple
nice.
things in there, things to basically bring me back to childhood. I got the little helicopter. It's a little
Yeah,
little
those
remote
are
control
cool.
helicopter.
And you're getting
some
into these.
t-shirts.
That's a great IP cam. I love that. one.
I have one now
With night vision.
Yeah, here's my goal with it. If you guys make this IP cam thing happen for me, ZoneMinder will happen.
Yeah, we gotta do a segment on that.
We will
Yeah.
do an honest to God, real solid, up to date. Some of the segments out there are really bad for the I've seen thus far. I want to do a really good segment on ZoneMinder.
There was a group of folks in the chat room this morning talking about ZoneMinder. I think there's interest in there, and this
Oh yeah, got some
Bazinga red hoodie
got
would be
some
great for
Bazinga
the
with the
show.
red hoodie,
Yep.
absolutely. And you guys can get to this matthartley.com/birthday. Will take you to this page.
And we have it linked in the show notes.
That's
as
right.
well.
Yep. So yeah, and the monkey suit. You want to make that? If you want me to wear the monkey suit for Halloween, you are in control of that now.
So, are you going out of town for the birthday?
I will be going out of tune.
Cool.
I will be going to some lake somewhere, one of the lakes from one of those horror movies that were popular in the 80s and 90s, I'm sure. So knowing my luck. But yeah, it'll be interesting. Paddle boats and whatnot.
So don't forget, we'll be live on Friday this week.
Friday.
A couple other last bits of business before we run. If you support the network by using our affiliate links at the bottom of the Jupiter Broadcasting website, which is great because then a portion of your shopping session contributes to the expenses for the network, we also have Chrome and Firefox extensions. When you load those in your browser, these are open source code up on GitHub. You can take a look at them. They automatically take your shopping session for you, so you don't have to click the link first. And we include sites in there that aren't on the bottom of our website, like Monoprice, and Woot.com has been added now.
Oh, nice.
So, we just pushed out 2 new updates for Chrome and Firefox. I know in Chrome, I haven't tried Firefox yet, but in Chrome, you have to reauthorize the plugin. It gives you
So
a
they need to
little
go into their plugin list and make sure that's been reauthorized?
You should see it in the hamburger drop-down. So, like, right here, it should say at the bottom, like, update required.
Which is like 3 little lines on the corner there. Yeah.
The reason why it's requiring reauthorization is we kind of made it a little more polite. So what it'll do now is it will detect if you're on somebody else's site, like your church or another podcast network, and they have an affiliate link on their page. If you click that, our extension will recognize that and respect that and disable our tag and use their tag instead because it recognizes
that's cool.
the
That's
user.
that's tactful. I like that.
We've also done some Firefox integration improvements and some optimizations, and then, of course, added those new shopping sites like Woot and a couple of others. But the updates have been pushed out. You might see your browser asking to reauthenticate. And if you don't have our Chrome or Firefox extension yet, we'd really appreciate it if you grabbed it. It doesn't cost you anything. It doesn't add bloat. We're not tracking or anything creepy like that. It's just helping us cover our daily expenses over here at JupiterBroadcasting.com, and we really appreciate it.
All Automagic, and it's good stuff.
Also, I want to mention we've covered Docker before on the big show. Docker is an amazing product. It's going to revolutionize hosting. It's going to revolutionize deployment for developers. I mean, it is huge. Docker is massive. And we are interviewing one of the developers tomorrow on episode 66 of Coder Radio.
Oh, wow.
One of the Docker devs is going to come on and talk about Docker for developers, talk about Docker for hosted services. I think it's going to be a really good show.
It'll be a huge show.
Huge show. And we'll do that Monday at 9 a.m., noon Eastern over at jblive.tv, and it'll be available for download later tomorrow, Monday.
Good stuff.
So it's going to be a good episode of Coder Radio, assuming they show up.
Yes. Well, I'm sure they will.
Yeah. Don't forget, you can contact the show. Just pop that contact link at the top of our website or start a thread in our subreddit over at linuxactionshow.reddit.com or find that bit message address in our show notes and send us in a super cool bit message.
That's right. And for those in the chat room that just asked for links again, all the links for all the stuff is going to be in the show notes. Otherwise, it's good stuff.
Yeah.
And that birthday thing, shipping's handled automatically. Matt Hartley/birthday. MattHartley.com/birthday and shipping's handled.
Automatically for you.
Automatically.
They fill it all in there.
And tripping on my tongue is no extra charge.
And you know what? There could be a little synergy there. You grab the Firefox or Chrome extension.
See, I was thinking about that. I was
And
like,
then you go to the
that's
birthday
right.
shopping.
So you're helping. You're helping out the network as well. That's
awesome.
really awesome.
So we'd love to hear from you and join us on Tuesday for Linux Unplugged. We already got a whole look at. I got. You see this over here, Matt? All
What
of
do you guys
this
want?
right.
Oh my goodness!
I got 5 or 6 emails right here, all for Unplugged already lined up. Look at those.
Holy cow!
Those
That's
are some
great.
good ones. Yeah. Yeah.
Good emails.
I think we're gonna have a great Unplugged on Tuesday.
Absolutely.
If you can join us for that. That's live at 2 p.m. on Tuesdays over at jblive.tv.
That's right. And if all this time math gets you confused, just subscribe to the calendar.
Yep. Yeah. That's the best way. Then the calendar automatically put on your time zone. And we'll have some new calendar foo coming soon. To
Some
the
calendar
website.
foo.
Yeah.
Cool.
All right, Matt. Well, I think that's just about everything for this week's episode of the Linux Action Show. We'll see you right back here next week. Thank you for being a friend. Do. Heart is true. You're a friend and a confidant.
Blanche is easy.
And even Rose is kind of slutty. And Dorothy will tell you why you're wrong. Sophia's there too, and sometimes Stanley stops by, cause it's the freaking Golden Girls.
To be fair, Sophia was badass.
Yeah, hi everyone, and welcome to the Linux Action Show, Season 27, Episode... Damn it, stupid feeble mind. Okay, so, this week, we're going to bring two great sync products head-to-head. BitTorrent Sync... Oh, wait a minute, the music. Yeah, I know. I realize now, chat room. I realize now.
Thank you for being my friend.
All right, Season 28, Episode 7, and it begins in 3, 2. Welcome to the Linux Action Show, Season 27, Oh, shoot. If we don't get this thing started soon enough, I'm going to have to pee. Okay, here we go.
Too
Season
late.
28.
Thank you for being a friend.